Red dot on that side?
See it.
Okay. All right. Ready. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're live. How you doing, brother?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing good. I got Yemi Shabazz here. I don't know why.
It's not Shabazz.
It's not?
No.
The fuck is your last name?
I thought we had this conversation already.
We did, huh?
Yeah.
I must have been drinking or something. What's your last name?
It's Adeogba. Stap Adeogba.
Adeogba?
Yeah.
Like with an A?
Mm-hmm.
Damn it, I would have put Shabazz on the fucking name of the podcast.
Yeah.
Wait, why do I not know
Stap.
this? When did we talk about this?
I don't know. One of those nights.
Right.
One of those late nights.
Okay. Adeogba. We got
Adeogba.
Yemi Adeogba. Am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I putting way too much Spanish
No.
kind of accent on it? No?
No, it's missing a little bit of
It's
that.
missing a little bit?
Yeah.
Adeogba. Like that?
No.
Is your mom Hispanic?
Nope, not at all.
What is Adeogba? What's the heritage there?
It's spelled Adeogba. Adeogba.
Adeogba?
Something like that.
Damn,
The
dude, I'm
G-
never going to get this.
It's a silent G, though. It's a silent. The G's are silent.
And how come your last name is different from your siblings?
Well, the Shabazz brothers are my half brothers.
Mm-hmm.
We have the same dad, different mother.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like complex.
Yeah. How did you
Family
end up with
dynamics.
your mom's last name instead of your dad's last name?
No, I have my dad's last name. The Shabazzes have their mom's last name.
So Shabazz is the mom's last name.
Yes, Q
Got you.
Shabazz.
The people listening probably don't even know what the fuck we're talking about, but
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
all good. We got the name down, man. No, I was excited to get you in here, man. I know that you were, you're like one of the first people I talked to about the podcast whenever I was first talking about doing it. And then you got to actually be a fan and watch the first two, and then
Yeah.
before you got in here, so you kind of got an idea of it. But no, I remember when I first did it, I would sit back and think, like, who would I want to have? Because me and you would have really good conversations, man. I think probably every single time we've hung out, we've had really good conversations. But for sure, like the last 3 or 4, like they've been really, really good. So I was like, man, like I feel like we would do a good podcast, man.
Hell yeah.
So what were you thinking? So watching podcasts 1 and 2, I know you mentioned that you hadn't finished the second one. What were you like? What was your expectation? Do you think?
Well, expectation?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just enjoyed it. Just
Like watching it?
the two different conversations and just the possibility of it, like just the different guests and just having a conversation. I think it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Do you think that are you a conversationalist in your regular life? Do you think, like, if you were chilling? Let me give you an example. You ready?
Yeah.
If you were chilling, like, let's say, at what's a place where people commonly go? If you're at the fucking DMV and like you're
Okay.
just chilling,
Yeah.
do you just chill there, or do you talk to the people to your left and your right?
It depends.
Would you ever spark up a conversation with a stranger though, like in a
Yeah.
place like that? You would.
Yeah, I enjoy doing that.
Yeah. What about if someone does it to you?
I think it's cool.
Do you go with it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Hell yeah.
I could see you doing that for sure. Some
Yeah,
people
like-
wouldn't.
I like random conversations.
Yeah. Would you talk to
With
someone in like a
people I don't
DMV
know.
line if they're like, this sucks? Like, would you be like, yeah, it does? Or would you just be like, whatever?
I don't know. It depends on what day it is. Like some
Depends on what day it
some days I'll just be like,
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like I have a complex, man. Like, I can't do any fucking thing ever without talking to everyone I'm there. And that
Yeah.
could be a good thing, man, but it works out good for me because I feel like I meet a lot of people that way.
yeah.
But I definitely don't like it's an issue when I'm with Laura because like we'll go to places and I'm like saying hi to everyone. Sometimes it's people I know like personally that I'm really close with, but sometimes it's like Laura made a comment once. She's like, "You're always running into people you haven't seen in a long time." Like, and I'm like, "Babe, I swear to God, like I haven't seen them." But it's true. Like I'll run into people and I'm like, "Oh, that's so and so from high school," or "It's this guy from that place and something," and I can't just like say hi. I have to be like, "How have you been? What's going on?" That's cool. And then I genuinely get sucked into a conversation with them, and so it leaves out the other people that I came with. And so I'm getting better at like balancing like who I say hi to, because to me I feel like every conversation's super fucking important. But and it is, it should be, but at the expense of the people you're with. Like that's a hard balance, man. Do you ever like find yourself in a position like where you're in public and like you're let's say you and Danielle are out and about, but you like and you're there doing like a family thing, like you're supposed to be focused on that shit, but then you run into fucking, let's call him fucking Steve from like back in the day, and he's like, "Yemi, is that you?" And then you guys start talking, and like, have you ever had a situation where you're like, "Fuck, like what do I do?"
Well, I'm always pretty good at like kind of seeing what's more important. It seems like.
Yeah.
but I don't know. I'll usually just like keep it short in those situations.
Do you know how to end a conversation though?
How to end it on a good note?
Yeah, like hey, I gotta go. Like, do you just throw that out there?
I'm sure.
What would you do? I'm being serious, man. What would you do?
Oh.
Let's say let's role play, man. Let's say me and you were talking, and I'm talking your fucking ear off, and you're like, you secretly like, you gotta go be with your family. Let's pick it up, right? So at any point you can cut me off. Let's say I'm talking to you the way I'm talking to you now, but you have to go. Like, how do you get out of this conversation right now?
I'm pretty ruthless.
But it doesn't matter. I'm gonna keep talking. Like, how would you get out of this conversation right now? Like, what would you say to me?
I'd be like, I really gotta get going.
Man, it's a cool. Pleasure. Yeah, dude, it was good seeing you though. Like, how's your mom been? How's your mom been?
She's good.
She's good?
Yeah, but I gotta run, dude.
You're gonna take off?
Yeah.
Dude, we haven't seen each other in forever.
I know. It's great to see you, all right?
Nah, man. All right.
I would have already walked away, though.
You wouldn't indulge them?
No.
Would you literally just be like, hey, I gotta go? Like, sorry, I gotta go.
Yeah.
You would? I could see you doing that.
I would have said, it's great to see you, but I would have been walking away as I said that, though.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do that. See, I gotta take a note from your book. Because I think I would try to do that, but I think like I would more focus on like just being in that conversation. I think there's a benefit to that, if I had to guess. Would you agree with that? There's a benefit to being in a conversation, right? Like literally, like not just being in it, right, the way that we are, but being present in the conversation. I feel like there's a difference between that and I'm talking to you because I know it's the right thing to do, and I don't want to be rude. And like I struggle with that because I guess I take moments really seriously, and I think like, what if I don't get this moment again? I think that has a lot to do with like personal stuff with me, because I have like a history of like not handling death very well, and so I feel like I really cherish moments, not consciously, right? Like if that was a situation and I ran into someone in public, I don't think I would consciously go like, damn it, like this person might die, like this is my only fucking moment with them. But I think in my brain, like I think that like I need to make the best of it, because that's literally happened to me. I've had conversations with good friends of mine and they died, and then I'm like, fuck, like if I can go back, I think I would have said more, it'd been better. And I think it's happened so many times, not always with death. Sometimes they get arrested, right, and they go away for long periods of time, or something, or maybe they move away, or maybe they something happens and we're not friends anymore. But I think I always know that in my conscience, so I always feel it's like a lot of like pressure to like have a full blown conversation with them, or at least get the most out of that moment until they release it, which that's I think really is valuable. Cool. But then again, if that was the case and the family's waiting, I think some people would be pretty pissed at me. What do you think?
That's a good balance, because life is a trip, right? You never know, like if that was your last exchange with somebody. Yeah. Like you don't want to know what's gonna happen.
You don't want to miss out on that. You're a little nervous, huh?
A little bit, yeah.
You'll loosen up a little bit. Just have a conversation with me. I feel like you keep looking over there, which is fine. Like I'll randomly glance over there too, because those people are awesome. Yeah. But just kind of get loose and just having a conversation with me. Okay. But yeah, like that's kind of how I feel about it, man. But I think it's funny because we're going back to what I was telling you earlier. Like you're one of the people that I think I have the best conversations with. Because I think that you do a great job of that. I think that you're super involved in the conversation, and I think that you're a good listener. And I don't think there's ever been a time where you said something back to me that was so off the wall that I was like, dude, are you fucking listening to me right now? Yeah. I hate that shit, dude. I hate when you talk to someone and then they say something back that, first of all, if it's completely irrelevant to what you're saying, you're like, all right, motherfucker, you're just not even listening. Yeah. But if it's like, do you have any friends or do you know anyone that's like this? This will happen a lot. Well, they'll quickly touch on what you said, and then talk about their own. Let's say you were telling a story about a guitar. And you're like, this is cool guitar, man. I really like it, and it's my favorite guitar. And I'm like, guitars are really cool. My sister just got a new job at Camino Real. Like, what? Like, you know what I mean? You're like, wait, what? Like, we're talking about guitars here, bro. Right? Yeah. Do you have any friends like that or family where they like, you don't have to say their names, but can you relate to that where like people like will kind of jump off
just
topic?
Quickly breeze over what you said? Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think when people do that? Does it bother you that much?
It sucks. Yeah. It definitely kills the conversation. It's like, oh, okay. You
definitely don't want to talk anymore. I don't have
anything else to say. Yeah.
I feel like I'm stubborn, and so I'll just fucking talk anyways. I'm known for telling people that, hey man, you got to focus on what I'm talking about. Like I'll just tell people that.
Yeah. But I'm pretty good multitasker, so I'll be like playing a video game on my phone or something, and Daniela's talking to me, and I'm still able to listen and respond, but she can kind of tell that it's missing its full attention.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think that you're, when you're doing that, like, are you responding like legit stuff, or do you think that you're responding
it's like a 70%, 70%
enough for her to go like, you're not fucking listening?
She's like, you're listening, but she's mad. She's upset.
Do you ever get away with it though? And then like you look back like, damn, I must have been extra good.
She's like, then what did I just say? And I'm always able to say what she just said. But
you are?
Yeah.
Oh, so it makes her look bad. Yeah,
but I'm still not fully responding though. I'm still
That's funny, man. I can't I'm better at that, but I started learning doing the podcast that I'm an auditory person. I always thought I was visual. And me and you talked about this recently, I think. Yeah. I always thought that I was visual. You know, when the teachers would ask you, like, hey, what kind of learner are you? I want to be the best fucking teacher in the world.
What style of
learning? Like, what's your learning capability? And I would always say, like, visual, because I like movies. I remember that's what it was. And I remember sometimes teacher would just show movies a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's your learning type? I'm like, visual. We should watch some fucking movies. So I always, like, crown myself a visual learner. But doing this, I started realizing, like, I think I'm more of an auditory, like, learner.
Nice.
Because I kind of what you're saying, like when you had your phone and you're playing a game but also listening to her.
Yeah.
I will play podcasts on my phone while I'm playing a video game, and I can have a conversation with Laura.
Oh,
and so I started realizing, like, visually the video game, right? Like I can do that, like, and it's good hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
But I'm really gaining my information through my auditory. Like I'm picking up the information from the podcast and then whatever Laura's saying. Excuse me.
Some video games, though, I am just completely distracted.
Like by the game or by
the game?
Like you get sucked into it?
Yeah, like I can't even hold a conversation or anything.
Like what game?
Like for instance, like Apex Legends.
Well, everyone's playing that,
like
dude.
A shooting game like that.
I know what it is.
I'm just fully focused. Like,
what do you think
Daniela
it is? Daniela
will try to talk to me. I'm like, I'm so distracted. Can't even respond.
What is it about the game though? If you had to guess,
it just demands your full attention just to be like at your best level of playing. Like,
so what are you doing in the game? Explain the game for people that don't know what the game is.
You're just trying to survive, basically.
I don't really know the game either. So is it a shooter game?
It's a shooter game.
And
you just got to run.
On a team?
Yeah, you have three.
Can you hear the other player? Are you talking online or are you just like guessing?
Yeah, you have headphones.
Do you use the headphones?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're communicating with other players. You're a team of three, and then it's a shooter game. You said, right? First person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are you trying to do? Like, what's the point of the game?
It's just like a rush to run through the map, pick up the best weapons, and then just kill the other players.
Before what? Like, you have to eliminate everyone and you win?
Yeah, last man standing.
That's it? Do you ever win?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's the key, man, if I ever play?
The key, I don't know. You just kind of
gotta learn. Fucking focused.
You gotta figure out what guns you like.
Block everything out.
Favorite guns and characters, abilities.
So, is it kind of like is it like PUBG? You ever played PUBG?
Mm-hmm. No, I've never played that, but
you know it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
That game fucking came with my Xbox, and so I played it once because a lot of my friends were playing it.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing, dude.
Yeah.
And I think you had to build the gun. You don't even give you a gun.
Oh,
you gotta
really?
like fucking go find the shit to make the gun that you want. And I'm like, dude, I don't have time for this, dude. Like,
yeah.
I probably do, like, if I got down and like deep into the game and like figured it out, but
yeah,
I'd much rather play a game where they just give you a gun, because like it's pretty like straight up, like just go kill someone with that gun.
Just start off with a gun.
Yeah, but I guess any game, there's been tons of games where I feel like I can't play it or I may not know what to do with it. But like once you spend some time on it, that's how I was with Call of Duty, like, which I love now. But when I first started playing it, my roommates used to play it back in the day.
Yeah.
Shout out Ben and Jake. You guys know who you are. They would play it and they were really good at it. And they're like, dude, just try it. And nice. I sucked. But then like one game, like one time, like I did really good. And I think I was just in like a party of like idiots online.
Yeah.
But I killed it. And I'm like, what? I can be so good at this. And so I started like really playing it and it became fun. But like the first few times I was not like good. So I bet you that game kind of like that, huh?
Oh yeah.
How did you get into that game?
Just playing with Elijah. I think Elijah just downloaded it one day. We're like, all right, let's go.
So you were playing it like to help him at the game?
No, I was just playing it just to kill time.
Yeah.
We were just chilling, yeah.
And then you just kind of got into it?
And then it was fun.
And how much do you think you play it now?
Not much.
No?
No, we have to regulate it a lot because it gets out of hand if we just let him play too much.
Really?
Yeah.
Does
it's like his favorite reward or whatever, so he just plays a lot.
What about you? Are you being regulated?
I'll get on after bedtime, and I'll just play for a couple hours. Time flies when I'm playing that game.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
I'm scared to get into a new game because I'm like that. I like to think that I'm not, man. But I have a history in recovery, you know what I mean? And so it's like, I think that's part of my personality, like the understanding the addictive part of it, you know what I mean? So like, I think part of understanding it is going like, hey, I know I'm really going to enjoy this. I don't have fucking time to enjoy this, so I'm just not going to do that. And so I struggle with that because I know specifically with video games, I play like 3 games, but I play the fuck out of those 3 games. I can play crazy. Like all day, like if I really want to. And the next day, like, you know, sometimes people are like, man, I can't be like a loser that plays video games and like da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. I can be that loser, but I feel that same way. Like while I'm doing it, I'm like, dude, I'm a loser. I've been playing this game all day.
Me too.
I skipped the gym. You know what I mean? Like God, man, I got shitty sleep.
Gets out of hand. You just start wasting your life.
But you still do it, dude. And it's like, it's weird how that works out, huh?
Yeah, it is. It's crazy how there's like electronic addictions and like recovery centers for that and shit. Like
is there really?
Yeah.
For electronic addictions?
They have to get rid of all their devices and go out and on a retreat and shit.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, how do you know? Like, tell me about this. What is that?
Well, I've seen it on a show before. Like.
So what is it, like a center? Like a rehab center?
Yeah, it's like a recovery center.
And what are they like? So people, is it like phones, I'm assuming?
Like phones, video games, anything like that.
And they go there for like a electronic cleanse almost?
Mm-hmm.
What? Is it a show?
They have to detox. They have
it's
to
a
detox
show?
from the game or whatever.
Dude, I gotta watch that.
Yeah, it's a show.
And so, like, what's it like? Do they? I'm assuming that you're right. They take their phone.
Yeah, they have no electronics, and they just go out on like nature walks and stuff. Man.
But how do they keep them from fucking running away to like go find electronics?
I guess they don't. But the people have to pay money to go there, like the recovery center.
I still wrapping my head around the fact that this is a real thing, dude. So they what channel is this on, or where can I find it?
I don't know. We'll have to just Google it or YouTube it. Yeah.
Dude, I want to watch it because there's got to be one episode where like fucking like Ted, we'll call him Ted. Yeah. He's like, yo, man, I'm thinking about running away tonight. Yeah. You're like, why, Ted? Trying to play some games.
I gotta
want to text some girls, and then he just runs in, and like the staff's like, "Get back here!" And they like tackle him. He's like, "Stop it, dude!" I want to see that shit, dude. That sounds crazy, but it sounds like that's our future for sure, huh?
Oh yeah, it's
having like a rehab from devices.
Yeah, they're getting like better too. It seems like all the games are getting better and better, more addicting.
The video games,
funner.
I feel like. The media. Do you think? Have you ever played a VR game?
Virtual reality? No.
No.
Really.
I didn't play a game, but I did like a little headset, like where you just look around and see stuff at like one of the car dealerships I worked at had one.
Yeah.
It was so realistic, bro. That shit like blew my mind. I'm scared. Yeah. I don't want to be playing those games. Have you ever seen did you ever watch the show Black Mirror?
Black Mirror. Yeah, it's good.
There's an episode about video games. Wait, hold on, let me remember it.
I saw that one.
Which one was that? Why am I blanking here?
That was a scary one.
The one with spiders and shit in the house?
Yeah.
And like he was like, I forgot how he got to the house though. Wasn't it like a newspaper article and they were like recruiting people, right?
And he was in a foreign country.
Yes, and he was traveling. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it was.
And they offered a lot of money to test the game.
Yes, and he went into the game and he went to a house, right?
And it's supposed to be the scariest game ever created. The scariest experience.
How did he get in the house? I don't remember.
Well, they invited him in, and then he was in that room, right?
Yes.
And they gave him the chip or something.
And then they told him, like, all you got to do is sleep here, right?
And they told him no cell phones allowed in the room, remember?
Yeah, that's right.
And then something happened with his phone where, like, he got a call at that moment, and it fucked up the game or something, right?
I don't remember. Is that how
so
it ended?
Weird. Because it had like loops, like it seemed like he made it home, but then he was just back in the game.
Oh,
like, it was
shit.
So
dude,
weird.
yeah, I think I remember that. I need to rewatch that because I remember thinking this is out of this fucking world. Because remember those giant spiders were in there, and then it got like and that's like one of my biggest fears. And so I know if they put me in a game about my fears, that'd be the first thing that would attack me. Would be a fucking giant spider.
That was a trip.
But that's a crazy show how they always touch on technology stuff, and that's what it reminded me of when you were talking about that rehab place. When I watch Black Mirror, it just reminds me how much how fucking scary technology is.
Yeah.
I went.
Why is it called Black Mirror? Right. It seems like they're trying to show us a possible future of technology, and like.
What do you think? What would be your theory?
Like they're trying to redirect us, or like make everybody aware of the dangers of technology. in a way, like.
So what does the name Black Mirror have to do with that? Like, what are they relating?
Well, it's like a magical mirror, like a scroll mirror, because like when the screen is turned off, it's just a black screen. It's black mirror. So
and you can kind of see yourself in the reflection a little bit on your phone.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, I never thought of that. Because that show freaked me the fuck out, dude, when I first saw it. Everyone was talking about it. And I didn't know. Did you ever watch The Twilight Zone?
Twilight Zone?
Like back in the day?
Yeah,
That's essentially what it is.
Too well.
It was like a bunch of mini stories. I didn't know it was like that. And someone's like, you got to watch Black Mirror. And I was like, all right, cool. I saw it was a Netflix show and I saw it was a series, right? Mm. I thought it was going to be one long story. And so if you watch the first episode of Black Mirror, like season 1, episode 1, it is weird as shit. It's about the president that gets the terrorists make him like bone a pig.
Oh,
you remember that? And
that's crazy.
And the whole time I'm like, what a weird way to start a show. Like the show starts and there's like this terrorist, like, you know what I mean? And I'm like,
gonna try to keep going off
and
of that.
And I'm waiting for like story development. So at the end of the episode, like he like ends up like banging out the pig and like, and then I'm like, fuck, dude, I don't even know what like episodes 2 is gonna be about.
How are they gonna build off of this?
Like what happens next? Like he goes home and chops his dick off, like and like goes into this fucking depression. Like I was waiting for. I'm like, dude, how crazier can it get? And then it was a totally different story. And I'm like, oh, that's just how they do things.
It's just
each episode's a different story.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I didn't like. I remember. Oh, that's what it was. I didn't watch the second episode because I'm like, I don't fucking. This is a weird show. And then I saw someone else on Facebook post about a different one. I'm like, I don't remember. It was a character, an actor that I liked, and I'm like, I don't remember him being in that show. And then so I went and watched the second. And that's when I caught on to that. It was like different stories.
Yeah.
But that show's pretty cool fucking epic, dude. Yeah. And if you don't like it, just skip it and go to the next one because they have some that are weird and some that are like beyond awesome. What do you think's your favorite episode?
Favorite one?
Is there any that pop up?
No.
Did you watch any of the new season?
Yeah, I saw the new season.
What'd you think of the Miley one?
The Miley Cyrus?
Yeah.
I thought it was weird.
Dude, I fucking hated it.
Yeah.
I thought it started off like cool. Like this, I could see where this is going. And then it turned into like a Disney movie.
Yeah,
it
was like
a darker Disney movie. And so I hated it.
It was one of the weaker ones, I thought.
One of the cool ones that I saw, though, did you see the video game one?
The video game? Which one?
Bro, where the two college friends played video games a lot online.
Oh, yeah. That was crazy.
Dude. And then they were playing like the like Mortal Kombat style game. And then they end up like falling in love with each other. Like, I was just like, what the fuck? Because at first when you watch it, like, it feels weird. And then I go, dude, this for sure can fucking happen.
It brings up a lot of like ethical morals and shit. Like,
what? Because isn't that already happening in today's world? So that's why I love that they did that episode, right? Because it's so metaphorical. It's like, all right, we all think of this, right? You know what I mean? We think of ourselves in a certain way, and then we also understand that when you go online, you can become a different person. That's a fact, right? That's a fact today. You can go online and be any fucking person you want. And trust me, as someone who has a YouTube channel, I know that. Because I have people that comment on my shit, like some evil shit, and it's some weird-ass fuck in his room, I bet, somewhere in, you know what I mean, wherever he's at. Like, he would never say that to my face, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the trolls.
Yeah, and so it's like you feel powerful. So that it happens, bro. You can go, I watch Catfish. Love that show. You can go online and be anything you want, right? So that's for sure a thing. So in the future, when you can do VR games online and actually have emotions and feelings tied to the game, that's for sure a possibility, man. In the same way now that we have the older... What's the best way I can put this? The older group, right? Like there's like the... traditional values, right? Maybe our parents, if your parents are old enough, if not their parents, right? The parents that maybe were closer to racism, the parents that were closer to like where weed was the worst thing in the fucking world, right? It was destroying lives. The people that didn't understand gay people, like that era. We're in this era where our generation kind of gets that a little bit more, right? And so we understand it.
It's unfolding.
But they don't really know that yet, right? Like that generation still thinks that those things are okay, or not all of them have understood it, right? But I like that episode because it kind of shows you that in the future, the people now, when they're in that situation, like what would they do? Maybe they would. Maybe maybe the person that never got out much, or whatever the case is. In the show it wasn't that way, but maybe the dude that plays video games that only believes that like men should be with other women and never other men, they only believe that because they fucking never get out and experience the world, right? And let's say they have emotions in a video game and they're forced to deal with their feelings and like figure that shit out. That's why I like that episode, dude, because I feel like it's enlightening and it's a projection on what the future will be like. I guarantee you that will happen in the future. Maybe not in the exact same way, but symbolically, like that generation of people, our generation and the younger generations, will be forced to like understand like what it is to be in those situations and then figure out how real is this, you know what I mean?
Like even deeper, like it's gonna come up in real, well, because I feel like we're already in that situation of having to face ourselves more on that level, like
right now, you mean?
Yeah. Like
in what way? Give me an example.
Like you're saying, just your sexual preferences, like are you attracted to men or women, like where you stand on that. Like there's still a lot of cultural, seems like a lot of cultural influence, like, oh, you need to be monogamous, you need to be straight, man, or whatever. But do
you think a lot of that has to do with religion?
Yeah, I think so, for sure.
Yeah. Are you religious? I don't know if I've ever asked you this.
No, I'm not religious.
No. Have you ever been?
Yes, I have been. Yeah.
What was your, if you don't mind saying, like what was when you were?
My grandma started taking me and my brother to church, to Christian.
That's how I started going to church. My grandma, grandmas.
When we were about 7 or 8, yeah.
It was a Christian church?
It was a Christian church.
And then how long do you think you went there for?
We just went occasionally for a few years, maybe 3 or 4 years occasionally.
So you said around 8, so 8 to 12 maybe ish.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then how did you feel when you went to church? Like what was your experience like there?
I kind of enjoyed it, but I also thought it was boring. But as a kid, I like, it was just kind of weird and just like strange.
Church is fucking weird.
Yeah.
Was it like were you ever connected to church?
Connected to church? Like
the way that someone that does go to church regularly now, they always talk to you about like, oh, I just feel special when I'm there and I feel like I'm meant to be there and I'm doing God's will. Did you ever feel any of that?
I think I've had some good experiences in church where I'm listening to the sermon or the preacher and like getting my own message out of it. Yeah. Because I've been to church like throughout my life on different occasions, like different churches and stuff. And I've had good experiences with the message, and I've read through some of the Bible and like picked up a lot of good gems out of there, I think.
Were you ever during your 3 or 4 years when you went to church? I know you were young, right? And kids just have a weird issue connecting on that level with anything. So maybe the answer is no. But I'll ask anyways. Was there ever a point where you felt like saying my God? Did you ever use that term, like my God or God, like, and know that like you literally believe in that? Or was it always just like you repeating the shit you heard?
Well, I think over time it became like a search. It became like a searching thing, like.
Were you more like trying to figure things out?
I was driven to like figure out like what is my God, What is my God like? Is my God the God of the Christian Bible, or
So what I mean? Even while you were going to a Christian church, you were kind of still trying to figure out like what you believed in?
Yeah, I was still searching and still conflicted because like as I grew older, I just wanted to read more of like the ancient wisdom and stuff. Yeah. So I started reading like Buddhist books, the Tao and stuff, the Tao or the Tao.
That's what is that?
That's like a Chinese religion.
You started reading these when you were a kid?
Like in high school.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I started reading those.
So when did you stop going to that Christian church? And did you stop going because you didn't believe in it anymore? Or did you stop going for any other reasons?
Well, I think, I've always just been like, I kept going to church occasionally though. I was never like a steady church going every Sunday guy at a specific church. But throughout my whole life, I've always gone to church like some Sundays, like maybe every other week, or just in a few times a year, depending. Yeah. Sometimes I would go like for a time I went, like, it was weird, but it's random, but I'd always go into different churches. I've always been
Would they always be Christian churches? Have you ever gone to a different church?
I think I went to a Catholic church a couple of times just with friends.
It's fucking way different, huh?
It is different, yeah.
Which is weird because as far as belief systems, they're actually pretty similar.
Yeah, they go both off the Bible, right?
There's a reason why I'm asking all this, by the way, and I'll get to that in a second. So you went to church for a while. It sounds like you're the kind of person that always kind of thought like cool. This is more of information, but I'm trying to gather all this information to figure out what I believe in. So then, so when you stopped going to church, it wasn't like a decision. It was more of like you just kind of like was more interested in other things, or what would you say?
Yeah, I still really haven't like, oh, I don't go to church. Like I'm still open to go to
like
a
if
church.
your grandma called you right now, like would you go on Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'll even be like, hey, we should go to church and just take Daniela and the kids and go.
Yeah. And then so where do you think you stand today? Like if someone asked you, are you religious? I'll ask you, are you religious? What would your response be?
No, I'm not religious.
And then, but how do you feel? Like, would you consider yourself spiritual? Would you consider yourself, what would you consider yourself, if anything?
Well, I feel like I'm still on that search. Like I do believe that there is a God or a higher power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a intelligent force that's working in the universe, or like built into the universe,
mm-hmm.
or that is the universe, you know? Like the whole universe is basically God. Like I've always just continuously searching to like form my own conception of what religions are looking after.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the search for that higher power and like a way to worship and live on a spiritual basis, you
mm-hmm.
know, like ways to pray, or like doing offerings or mantras or chants or stuff, like all of those things. Like what is it for? What is it about? It's about forming a relationship with the higher power and like forming your own conception, because I feel like every individual has their own knowledge of what the religions are talking about, like a God or a Jesus Christ, like a savior,
mm-hmm.
savior man, or a God being, you know. And all of the religions, they have different perspectives of what that being is and how to connect with it. So I feel that, to me, that's like real exciting to just keep reading up on what around the world, what everybody mm-hmm. thinks it is, and to form and just integrate that into my own idea of, okay, like what's really going on and how can I connect with this being, or even with myself in a way, you know what I'm saying? Or?
Yeah. No, I think that's really cool. That's one of my favorite things about you. I think that me and you are very similar in that way. You, first of all, you're very different. Do you mind if I tell you this?
No.
When I first met you, man, you know what I liked about you is that you didn't try to impress me, right? And I mean that in the most normal way, right? I'm not saying that everyone tries to impress me, but as a human natured thing, when you meet someone you don't know, you tend to say and do things, human beings do, to make that person like you because you want to be liked. And I remember when I first met you, you didn't do that at all. And if anything, it was quite the opposite. You said some off-the-wall shit.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't the way that I am, I think I would have been like, and I'm being honest, I would have been like, Yemi, you're a fucking weirdo. I would have. Yeah. Right? But that's not what I thought at all. I think a regular average person would probably have felt that way. But I remember thinking, wait, what? Like, wait, say that again? Do you remember me doing that to you? We're on the way to Rio Doso on the guys' trip. Yeah. You said something, and I said, I don't even remember what it was. It was something about yoga or something, or being one with the earth. And I was like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
But like, and then you explained it, and I go, wait, so you're saying, and I started deciphering what you were saying. Yeah. And by the end of it, like, I thought it was like one of the most enjoyable things in the world. But I really liked it about you because you at any point could have been like, never mind, dude, you're not good. You know what I mean? But you didn't care. I think at one point you're like, all right, let me start over. Like you were like I really want you to understand this, you know? And so I like that you're authentically yourself. I truly like think that if you don't appreciate that about yourself, you for sure should, which I think you do. But I appreciate that about you. I think you're super authentic. You are who you are, and you're searching for information and you're analyzing it. And that's what I was doing whenever I met you. Was like, I didn't, this is a practice that I try to do in my everyday life, is when I find the people that I don't understand the most like intriguing people, and like I get super excited and into it, and because I want to understand that, right? And so it's like I think that's super cool about you. So when I'm listening to you right now talk about your feelings on religion and stuff, that's kind of exactly how I view you, which is someone that's not gonna just read some shit off a paper and then repeat it. You're going to figure out how you feel about it, incorporate the best parts of it that follow what you, and then have your own thing. I think that's pretty cool, man. Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah.
I love those conversations the best. Like when you're asking me about random conversations, like it's always on some off the wall, like kind of out of the box type of thing.
Those are the best ones, right?
That's how I always go about trying to start a conversation because it's like a test. It's like, what kind of person is this? Like, how is their mind?
Yeah.
Do they have an open mind, or are they like, oh shoot, this is out of my zone, you know?
That's actually, I get what you're saying. So do you think if someone didn't have an open mind, you would just stop? Let's say
I think they would indicate to me that they're uncomfortable with what I'm talking about.
Did I indicate that when we first met?
No, you're like, oh, so what do you mean? You know,
but you didn't take it as disrespectful?
No.
Because I think some people would, and I try not to be that way, but I laugh. I think things are funny. I'm myself, right? The same way that you're being yourself. Yeah. Myself is to go, what the fuck, dude? That's crazy. And I think people might go like, oh, he's being rude. But in reality, that's just my genuine response to that. And so you didn't take anything I said as disrespectful?
No, because like I'm not super attached to my own, like, to what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not clinging on to it like it's my religion or anything. I'm just like throwing out ideas out there. So it's like, if you're like laughing at it, I'm like, all right, whatever, like I can go into it or whatever, you know. Let's
take a different scenario though. Let's say I didn't do that and I was rude. Do you think you would have continued the conversation? Let's say you said I'll give a literal thing. You literally at one point were talking about how you would hug trees. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I think if people don't get that or they're not open-minded, they would literally go like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you're weird. Like, that's not real. Like, they might actually be rude and bully you. Let's say I did do that, right? Let's say I went like, dude, you weird fuck, dude. Nobody hugs trees, dude. You got to stop doing that shit. What would how would you have been?
I've been like, what? What are you talking about? Like, why?
Would you have taken it personal though?
No, I would ask them like, why do you think that? I would have fun with you because I would just throw out like random information and stuff and just.
That's pretty cool, man. Because I think most people would get upset, especially if someone's challenging your beliefs. It's super easy to get upset. But again, that's one of the things I like about you. When you said that right now, I can see you being like that. Like, oh, well, why? Like, why do you... Like, I can see you just be like, all right, well, who gives a fuck? That's how I feel.
Why do you think it's weird?
Yeah. But I think that, like, that's pretty cool because I had a fear of that, like, as a kid, man. I always felt like the shit I was saying... I went through a phase where I specifically only said things that I thought other people were interesting. And I had to learn that, like... That yes, it's okay, right? But it's not like me. Like, I'm not going to enjoy that later on. Like, I'd rather be authentic, right? Yeah. But it's common with comics, right? And I don't consider myself a comic, but I have a comics mentality in the sense that, like, I want to say the most interesting stories. And so a common thing that a person that's comedic will do is embellish a real story. And I'll give you an example. Like, a simple story like, hey, I went to the store. I needed some green Solo cups. So I walked in. I went over to the aisle that said cups, and I walked down, and I found green Solo cups, and I bought them.
Yeah.
That's a fucking boring-ass story, right?
Yeah.
So a comedic person would be like, dude, did you even know that Solo made green cups? No, they only make red cups. Some fucking weirdo asked me for green cups, so now I'm on this goddamn mission to find green cups. There's no green cups in the whole town, man. So I go to this store, and I go, where are your green cups? And they look at me like I'm fucking crazy. One lady just walks away. I look on my own to find them, and boom, sure enough, green Solo cups. Who would have thought? Do you see how that's a way fun story?
Yeah.
That's not what happened. I didn't walk in and no one walked away, and I didn't search the city for the cups. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's just a version of the way someone that's doing that. And so I would do that a lot. And I think there's a place in the world for that, right? Like, you want to be entertaining. But I got to a place where it got out of hand a little bit, and I would tell stories that were like seeded off truth, which most lies are. But it was way more interesting to tell this different version of that story. And it made me popular in high school and different places, and so I would just run with that. But when I got older, I started caring less, and I started realizing like I could just be interesting telling the actual facts. Yeah. And I don't really care about all that other stuff, man.
Yeah.
But I fell into that little that hole for a bit.
Oh, I'm sure everybody goes. It's like a phase of life, like high school. It's called high school.
Did you ever? Dude, I would love to have fucking met you in high school. Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Mayfield High School.
All 4 years?
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself popular?
Popular? Middle.
What year did you graduate?
In the middle. 08.
So we graduated the same year. Damn, bro. And I never went to Mayfield. My brother went to Mayfield. Have you met my brother, Colin?
Yeah.
You didn't know him in high school?
Mm-mm.
You know what? He didn't graduate in 08, though.
Yeah, he's a little bit older than us.
Yeah, so that makes sense. But so you went... I know a bunch of people from... I don't want to start listing off people I know. But that's kind of crazy that me and you never ran into each other at any point. Yeah. We probably have.
Maybe we did, huh?
Yeah. So you graduated in 08. You played sports. What sports did you play?
Played football and wrestling.
Did you play wrestling or did you do wrestling?
I wrestled.
There you go.
I played football and I wrestled.
And so you get what I'm saying. Naturally, there's some popularity that comes with that, whether you earned it or not, right? When you play some sports, as someone who gained popularity from sports that I did not earn, they're naturally like when you play sports, people come up to you like, hey, I saw your game or something. So it gives you, if you're weird, which I was, it gives you a little bit more interaction. Do you think that, like, did you have any of that in high school?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because we won state 3 years in a row. So
yeah.
That's pretty.
You guys are really good. Do you see now why I forget your last name, man? Because your family's last name has like a huge meaning in this town, and so like people know that, and so I keep going to that. And like when you were telling me that wasn't your last name anymore, or that wasn't your last name, and I was like, when you're like, we fucking talked about this, I'm like, when? And like as you're explaining it to me, I'm like, oh yeah, like we did for sure. And so I kind of feel weird starting the podcast that way, but it's not like I called you a name that I made up.
Yeah, right.
But
those are my brothers.
Yeah, so and they went to different schools, right? They went to all different schools. Now that I think about
Gadsden and Cruces.
Did any of them go to Mayfield?
No.
Did any of them go to Oñate?
No. None of the Shabazes did. No.
None of them did. And I know one of your brothers that went to Cruces because I went to Cruces with him, and I watched one of your brothers play when he used to play for the Aggies, and then he played for Gadsden before that. And I think I was talking to you about this once. One of my foster brothers that passed away played for Gadsden, and he was like a huge fan of your brothers. He wanted to be just like him, man. And we would go with my foster family to watch your brother's games at when he played for NMSU, and then my brother played for Gadsden. And so when we go to the games, he'd be like, I'm gonna I see what he's doing here. I see what he's doing with his hands. Like I'm gonna start doing that. And so he was a huge fan. That's
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to go to those games too.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun.
Do you what is it like to I feel like your whole family's athletic. Do you feel like that's a genetic thing? Or am I being weird about that?
I think it might be.
Yeah, like a little bit, right? Like
it's weird though cuz my mom and my dad, they're both short. So I'm like, how did I become tall?
Really? How tall are you?
I'm only 6'2".
That's pretty tall, right? Yeah. I think the average male height
yeah.
is what, like 6 foot, right? Or is it 5'11"?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm going to go, hey, Alexa, what's the average height of a male?
The average height of a male person is 69.3 inches and 5 feet and 10 inches.
5 feet 10.
5'10".
Yeah. So dang. Yeah. So you're good. You're above average, Yemi.
A little above average.
We're just talking about your height, buddy. But yeah, like when I say athletic, I'm not talking like literally like. To me, athletic is always physical, like your physical capabilities, because you can learn a sport. And I'll give you the perfect example. I was like decent at basketball, but I'm not athletic at all. My family's not athletic. I was just more skillful when I figured things out, right? But some people are just athletic, and then they also add on the skillful stuff. And so it's like, and obviously you had that because you played sports. You're probably a good wrestler and a football player. How was it like growing up in a family that everyone is doing some sort of athletics almost, right?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was an interesting experience.
Yeah. Me and you have talked about this a little bit, but I kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit because I think it's pretty cool. I think one of the questions I asked you last time and I ask you again, is there a pressure growing up in a family? Because and we won't give out people's info, right? But you had one brother that was in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Just one?
Yeah, just
one. And he played for multiple NFL teams, right?
Yeah.
I think the Packers...
For a little bit, I think. And the Dolphins and the Raiders.
Raiders, right? Yeah. And then you have a brother that played college football. You have a brother that's a boxer, right? Mm-hmm. Is he a pro boxer?
He did... What was it? It was a league in Arizona. It's professional.
For boxing?
Yeah.
Is a league specific to Arizona?
Oh,
it's considered professional, though, right?
Yeah,
I think professional is still professional, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he's professional for a while.
So that's pretty cool. And then do you have any other like professional, not that that's the ultimate level, right? But I'm just saying like, is there anyone else I'm missing? Sisters,
as far as
nothing.
Sports, no.
No.
My sister's doing some yoga teacher training though.
That's the other part I was going to say. So one of your sisters is in a different country right now, right? Mm-hmm. Where's she at?
She's in Bali.
In Bali? Yeah. And then she does yoga, right?
Yep.
Which is super athletic.
Yeah.
And then you did athletics in high school. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of runs in your family. Do you think that, I guess my question is, do you think that you guys did that because you were each individually in love with whatever, whether it was boxing, football, wrestling, yoga, whatever the other ones are, because you're genuinely interested in them? Or was it because it was encouraged? Like, how do you, what's the story there?
I think football was kind of like a pass down from my older brothers, Shabazz brothers. They kind of like led me into it with all of them playing ball. Like I was just following along that path. But I think wrestling just came to me from a friend. Like I met one of my good friends, Sean. I met him over the summer between 8th and 9th grade. And
Sean White?
Yeah.
I pictured a white guy when you said that. I don't know why.
He's a white boy with red. He's a redhead. Yeah.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Screw him, man. No, I'm just kidding.
He was a lot smaller than me, but he was a better wrestler.
What weight class was he in?
He was like 103.
And then you were what?
I was 152. This is freshman year.
So smaller, but he had more skill. He'd been doing it longer, maybe?
Yeah. So when we started just battling as friends in the summer, and he could beat me every time, and it just drove me crazy.
What counts as because I always, when I think of wrestling, I think of like MMA, but in actual college or high school and college wrestling, you win by pinning them down, right? Is that what you meant by beating you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and he could just take me down. Just boom, boom, just take me down to the ground, pin me. Yeah. And
then you guys would do that a lot?
Yeah, so we just started going at it, and I fucking just wanted to beat his ass.
Was it like he kept beating you, and you're like, the competitive side of you was like, dude, I'm gonna fucking get you, dude.
Butting heads, just battling all summer. So I was like, I'm gonna fucking wrestle, and then join the team freshman year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, how does wrestling work? Because I never wrestled in high school. Do you have to make the team? Was it like a tryout?
You have to make the state team. So you have to wrestle like anybody in your weight class. The best person will go to state.
But let's say I went to Mayfield and I wanted to wrestle. Do they just let me wrestle, or do I have to make the wrestling squad?
No, you can just join the team and practice.
But I get what you're saying. And then depending on how you do, you make state.
Or you make the meet. So like every weekend, there's like a wrestling meet at a school, right? And the team's gonna take the best wrestler. So everybody,
how many wrestlers would you say?
Whoever's at that weight class, they'll wrestle to see who's the best one who gets to compete.
Just the one? Oh shit! Yeah. So how many people were in your weight class? Would you say out of Mayfield? Just
at
Mayfield.
The team, there was always like 2 or 3.
So you had to just be better than those other 2 guys.
Yeah.
And then if you're the one that gets to go compete against the other high school?
Other schools.
Or was it ever like a tournament with all the high schools?
It's always a tournament.
Oh, it's always a tournament.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
And then is it like a tournament and like a bracket tournament? Like you beat someone, you move on?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how far did you go? Like what's the best you've ever done?
My senior year, I only lost to one guy. I got 3rd.
Like the whole year?
3rd place. No, at the state. I got 3rd in state.
Oh, you lost and then got 3rd.
Yeah, I lost once.
You lost in state? That's pretty good. Wasn't there a district before that, right? I'm assuming? Yeah. So you won the district.
Yeah.
So you were the best wrestler out of Cruces, Oñate, and Gadsden, right? Is in this district? So you were the best wrestler out of those high schools.
Yeah.
You went on, and then you competed against, was it like in Albuquerque or something?
Yep. It was at Los Lunas.
And then how many districts are there?
I think there was like 15 or 20. So maybe even more. I'm not sure.
Let's go with 20 then, just to be safe. So the 20 districts, they all had their best representative.
Yeah.
You were one.
Yeah.
You already won your district here. You're for sure the best wrestler out of the 3 schools. You go there, and out of the 20, you end up being 3rd. So you're better than 17 of those people, right? 16, because you're the 17th, right?
Yeah. I went up in 17. I went up in weight too.
Really?
I wrestled up.
Damn, you must have been pretty good then.
Because the wrestlers at my weight, they were strong. They were real strong. So we had an empty spot in the team. There was nobody at 189. So I went up like 15 pounds or something.
How does that work when you go up? Can you just go up, or do you have to gain
wrestle
weight?
Bigger guys? No, you can go up. You can't go down.
I see what you're saying. So you can fight someone bigger than you. So wrestling. So you did all that wrestling at a higher weight class. That's pretty impressive, man. Did you ever want to do something out? Like, did you just give that up, or like what happened there?
Well, after high school, I just stopped wrestling and boxing, I mean football, but I joined boxing. I started doing some boxing.
Like after all that?
Yeah.
Why do you think you moved around so much?
Like sports?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just like, I'm just going to try something new. Just kept moving with it.
I think that's the competitiveness in you, man. It's hard. I can, that's pretty cool that you were like talking about all that stuff and where you're at. I don't think I've ever been at that level at anything. And so it's like, it's hard for me to hear that because I'll give you an example. I only played basketball all through high school, and I was so dedicated to basketball, and I appreciate my dedication. But I just wasn't as good as some of the people that were on the team. There's some really good people on the team, but I never played basketball. And one of my foster brothers got me into it in 8th grade. So most of these kids have been playing basketball their whole lives. Yeah. I started at 8th grade, but I made the team as a freshman, and I made it every single year. And so like that in itself is a huge accomplishment. I worked really hard to make those teams and to get better, but I was just never going to be on the level of those other guys. Yeah. And I say that knowing that I could have, right? I don't want to ever say never. But it just wasn't me. And then like I enjoyed it. I was all about basketball. It's all I could put my whole life into something. And I wasn't probably top 3 on my team. You know what I mean? It's so hearing you say all that, and then to hear you just go like, yeah, but then I started boxing instead. I think that's fucking crazy. Like, how do you walk away from something that you're like that good at?
I might have wrestled in college, but they don't have a team here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just like,
was that the reason why you did boxing? Was it that you're like, hey, I want to do something different, or was it like, there's no future in this, so I'm going to do this? Like, what was your? I guess help me understand where that decision came from.
I think I was always kind of like a little bit directionless in my younger days.
What is that?
I still kind of am. Like, just not really like planning about a future or a career in something. Just kind of like going through and like, all right, that sounds good. Let's try it. Yeah. You know, just like jumping into shit.
And so someone brought up boxing, and you're like, I'm going to try that out?
Well, my brother was boxing. So he's just like, come train with me. And we just hung out over the summer between my senior year in high school and my freshman year in college. Yeah. We started hanging out a lot, me and my brother Siju that boxes. So I just started training with him, just jumped right in with him.
And then you enjoyed that too? And why do you think
that was really fun.
When's the last time you boxed?
I only had 8 amateur fights.
Really? How'd you do in those?
I think I ended up losing to the same guy 3 times.
What?
Yeah, it was like a thing, like he kept winning. It was always a decision. But the last time he fucked me up good, like I was all fucked up the next day.
Were you?
I think I ended up getting sick. I ended up getting pink eye.
Like one of the fights?
Pink eye before the fight.
Which one of the 3? The third one?
The third one, yeah.
You got pink eye?
I got pink eye before
the fight.
Yeah.
I mean, you already lost to him twice, though.
It was the second. It was the second one.
I got you.
Yeah, so that sucked. It was, I don't know, it was rough.
Yeah. Do you think you would ever do it again?
Boxing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
Right, would you ever train again? Probably, yeah. Would you ever fight again?
Yeah.
You would?
Fight? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How much you weigh now?
I feel like more confident in my health right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're pretty healthy, man. That's another thing that me and you talk about a lot. But before we lose that topic, on the fighting one, the reason why I asked that, because I think me and you maybe had talked about it. I did fighting for a while. Yeah. And so right out of high school, I met a guy named John Maddox. And I probably shouldn't have said his last name.
Yeah.
No, I don't care. He's one of my brothers. And maybe he watches the podcast. I don't know. But my boy John Maddox, really, really good boxer. This guy's a boxer from Connecticut. He had a history in this. And I was a really good basketball player. And so my senior year, I was living in a foster home, and I didn't want to live there anymore. And he said, hey, man, come live with me. And he was a military guy. And then I moved with him on White Sands, man.
Oh, man.
And his dad was a fucking colonel. And like one of the, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with, he's one of the top guys. He did tell me that word high school. And so his dad's like a TV colonel. Like the way you imagine like a colonel, like, put your hands behind your back, so like I'm obviously exaggerating, but he was like, when I saw him, I'm like, oh shit, he was very intimidating. He had the military haircut.
Yeah.
And so he was like, he lived a very like structured life, but he was into boxing. And he told me, hey man, I'll tell you what. And I was way popular than him because he had just transferred, because military people move around a lot.
Yeah.
And I was popular because I played basketball. I was really good at it, and I grew up here, so I knew everyone.
Nice.
And he ended up being my friend, and he was like, I took him to a few parties, and he was like, man, I really like hanging out with you. You should move in with me. I moved out of my foster home and moved in with him.
Yeah.
And he makes me a deal. There was a guy at the time, and I won't say the guy's name, but he was like, I would fight a lot, like street fights. Like I was an angry kid, man. And so when people pissed me off, I would just fight. And I would lose some and I would win some, but it didn't matter. I tried to win everyone.
Yeah.
And he was like skillful. Like he knew how to box. And so he was like, I'll tell you what, I'll teach you how to box and you teach me how to play basketball. And I want to make the basketball team. And so I was like, dude, fair enough. And so we would go on the military base, and he would teach me boxing. he was the first one that taught me how to like, because I would punch all aggressive, and he was like, man, it's the snap, like you want to get your distance, it's the pop, it's the, you know what I mean, you don't want to hit someone and connect right here, you know what I mean, if it's a jab, you want to be able to get full extension on your jab, different things, man. And I'm like, what? And so I got really confident with it, and then so at night we would go to the gym and practice boxing. At like 4 in the fucking morning, we would drive. All we had was his motorcycle, bro, and it was like December. So we drive, you know where White Sands is?
Yeah.
Well, we drive over the fucking Oregon mountains on his motorcycle, me and him together. Like, I would hold on to him, freezing fucking cold, just so we can get to the gym early at Oñate to practice basketball. Because that was my part of the deal, is that I would teach him basketball. Yeah. And so we would go practice and learn, man. And so I don't want to get too, this will be the longest story ever if I keep at this pace, but eventually he got really good at basketball. I got really good at boxing. He ended up not making the team.
Oh, fag.
Here's where it's not bad, though. I also ended up not making the team. not because of my basketball skills. This is my senior year, man. And so my grades weren't good. I had transferred back within a summer, and there's a rule about that. And so they could have played me, but I would have gotten in trouble. And like I was already checked out, and my coach, who coached me the 3 years prior, he already knew. And he knew me when I was dedicated and I was really good. And he asked me, do you really want to play? And I told him I did, but I think he knew that I wasn't serious about it, because I wasn't, looking back at it now. And so he ended up not putting me on the team.
Oh, man.
And so I told John, I'm like, man, I'm sorry I didn't help you make the team. He's like, well, you didn't make the team either. And I was like, all right. And he goes, but hey, man, I want to keep fighting. I enjoy fighting. So we joined an MMA gym. And so that's how I met a few people that I know now. And so I started MMA training, and I had a few MMA fights, man.
Yeah.
How was I loved it? Yeah, I loved it, man. It was as an angry kid who just wanted to beat stuff up, and not that I beat stuff up. I lost my first fight to him, by the way. Like my friend John was my first fight, and I lost to him.
Oh, for real?
Yes. Which is weird. Which is also a funny story. But he it was fun to go to the class. It was fun to get the discipline in, and it was fun to see something that I didn't necessarily have the physical attributes to do. I think I fought at 185, but I think I literally weighed exactly 185. Most fighters cut weight. So I didn't. But I was really tall at that weight class, and so I was really good at it. But that's
a heavy weight class.
Yeah.
Some big guys in there.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and so it was like, but it was fun, man. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and if I can go back, I would do it all again. The reason why I thought of this story is because I asked you if you would train and if you would fight.
Yeah.
Here's my answer to that, because people ask me all the time, people that used to see me fight or whatever. I ran into a guy at a friend's birthday party, and like, dude, did you used to fight? And I haven't fought in 10 years plus. Oh, wow. And so I was like, yeah, but like I remember telling him, I'm like, yeah, but you're probably thinking of the wrong person. I was like, Will Palmer, like, he named the place where I fought and the person I fought and how long ago it was. I'm like, oh, this is someone that actually did see my fights. And so I thought that was kind of cool. But he asked me if I'd fight again, and I was like, honestly, no. I would train again for sure, because I like the discipline of it.
Yep.
I am not made to do those things, man. I don't want to do that. I enjoy what we're doing right now. I don't know if I can like hurt someone, man. That's not in my bones. If I really had to, I could. But growing up the way I did, I like my peace, man. I need to know. I'm so big now that people don't want to fight me anyways. Like, and I'm not being like cocky or arrogant when I say that. I'm being humble. Like, I enjoy being bigger because it causes less issues. People don't come at me as weird, and when they do, I can be nice, and they usually go like, why is this big dude being nice to me? And it usually chills that out. And so I enjoy that. I enjoy my peace. I enjoy going out and knowing that I don't have to even worry about stuff. Like, I can just chill. And if worse comes to worse, I could protect the people I'm around, but I don't want to have to. I like being smarter. I like being able to identify bad situations and being like, I'm not even going to get in that situation. Way more than I enjoy fighting.
Hell yeah. I would just do it for fun, mostly. Like, if you asked me if I would compete again, it would just be for fun, like the competition and just getting in. Like,
you never competed for like anger or emotional reasons, though, huh? What was your reason to fight in the first place? You literally just enjoyed it?
Yeah, it was just to see how good I was and just get into competition. Yeah, because I was doing all that training, so I was like, all right, let's get a game.
Let's see what I can do with it.
Let's get the game day going. Yeah,
that's a good thing to have, man. I try to harness that like feeling in other things now,
and it motivates you to train a lot more.
Do you think that you use that in your every... I feel like, because remember me, you were talking about your grades, and like I was all happy. I like seeing other people that are that way, and so when you were telling me like, hey, my goal is to get all A's, and I have this one last test, and like I'm pretty close to not getting an A, but if I get this grade on it, then I get an A. And you were like all about it, and you got it, man. That's pretty awesome. Do you think that you carry that same mentality that you had from boxing, wrestling, football? Do you think that you carry that in other things?
I think it's a new development, like in my older age. Yeah. In my maturity, just like going for the goal, setting that goal and going for it. Like I wish I had that back when I was doing those sports.
Oh, I get what you're saying. I did that. So you have it more now.
I have it better now, like a better focus, and like I'll tell people like I have a goal to get a straight A's, and then I'll just keep
Do you feel obligated to get straight A's after you say that?
I feel like it changes the whole dynamic. Like they're looking at me, they're like, all right, we'll see what you got. Like they take the challenge and I take the challenge, and it's just a different thing. Like it builds a different bond with the teachers and everything, and like they know that I'm there to like play the game and like.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, man. I can see that in you for sure. I think it's a cool attribute to have.
It's fun.
I don't ever see myself. I need that, bro. Like I have to have that in almost everything I do, because I can't fail at stuff. I have this overwhelming need, and I don't want to use the word impress, right? Because I don't really care what other people say. And I do. I hate that phrase, by the way. When people say, I don't give a fuck what people say. You do. You do care.
I always hear, I care a lot.
I care a lot. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's not going to affect the way I care to hear someone else's opinion, right? Yeah. And so like I'm never doing things because I want other people to tell me something back, but I do care that I don't die as a fucking loser. I do care that like when I pass away I leave a legacy, and like people go like, man, that was a good person. I used to have this fear, and I'll tell you this, man, and I don't know like how emotional it'll get, but one of the things I was telling you about earlier was like my fear of like death and stuff. And so I've lost in my life a lot of people, man. I lost one of my best friends in fucking middle school. My elementary friend shot himself in the face when we were in 7th grade. I've lost foster brothers, man, to DWIs, to other people who were drinking and driving. I lost my dad. I've lost people to heroin overdoses. I've lost people to all different things, man. And I'm just kind of like, I hate generalizing the way I've lost people, but that's just an idea of how many people I've lost. And so I get this natural anxiety about like people passing away and death and stuff. And so I forgot like the main purpose. I don't want to like, what was the main reason why I was telling you about this, right? Like, what was I saying? Oh, about the drive to like...
Oh, to not be a loser.
To not be a loser.
A fear? You were going to tell me about a fear of yours.
Yeah, my fear... Oh, yes. And so, like, knowing all those people that have passed away, when I was younger, keep in mind I've lost more people since this fear started, I used to have this dream, maybe you would call it a nightmare, but it wasn't scary. Like, so I don't like calling it a nightmare. It was more sad. But I used to have this dream that I was at my own funeral, but I wasn't in the casket, but it was me in the casket, but I was outside of the casket, and I was staring and waiting, and nobody fucking showed up to my funeral. And then there wasn't even like a person there like waiting. It was just me. Like I was that person. Oh, sure. And in the dream, the people, for whatever reason, it was at a church, which is weird because I never seen myself getting buried. I'm not a religious person, so I don't see it ever being in a church, but in my head it was. So in my dream, it was a church. I was in a casket. Nobody showed up. And then the dude running it, the priest or whatever the person was, ends up like looking around in my dream, and he comes over and he's like, I don't know. And he ends up like just closing the lid and like turning off the lights. And I would wake up, man. And it was a repetitive dream. I would have that dream a lot. Oh, wow. And so I would think like, dude, I'm going to die and no one's going to fucking go. Like, and so I started getting paranoid.
Crazy. That's a crazy message.
Yeah. And I remember thinking like in my dream, like being sad. Like I was telling you, like I was sad that like the people, like no one, you know what I mean? Like I didn't want a lot of people, but I wanted someone to show up. Yeah. And so it created this anxiety in me. And so like, because I had this dream a lot in my everyday life, I started telling my friends, and I think Daniela would remember this, because she's been my friend for a super long time, and anyone who's been my friend for a super long time might remember this. But I started telling all my friends, hey, I think I want orange roses at my funeral. And they would go, what? And I was like, orange roses. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because I don't even know if those are fucking real. But I feel like that's how I know if you show up to my funeral, right? Because I don't know if my dream meant no one's going to show up or a lot of people will show up, but no one real. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't know if it was a metaphor of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't want people to show up to my funeral that don't want to be there. I know it's a weird fear, and maybe that will never happen. So I started telling everyone to bring orange roses. And like, they're like, what? Like, where would we even get that? I'm like, dude, dye them. Like, spray paint them. I don't give a fuck. But if I die, promise me you'll bring me orange roses.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
It's weird telling you about this because I haven't thought about this until right now. But I used to tell everyone, like, just bring me those orange roses, man. And
Nice.
And because I remember thinking, going back to the whole loser thing, like, I remember, like, I just want to make an impact, and I wanted people to remember me for something. I wanted people to show up. But I have this fear that I want to, like, be not important to the point where people glorify me or have some huge following, or I don't want to be amazing. Like, I want people to be honest about how I was in my life, but I just want people to show up. And if I want people to show up, the least I have to do, Yemi, is not be a fucking loser. Like, that's it. I don't have to be great. I don't have to be amazing. I don't have to be decent. I have to just be not a loser. And so, like, that's how I feel. Like,
you could be a loser,
maybe,
but still kind though and good to people.
And when I say that, like, I guess that's my own version of what I need to hear, right? And nothing against losers, or what is a loser, right? But in my head, I go, like, I have to pass classes. I have to be really good at MMA fighting. I have to be really good at basketball. And I have to be really good at conversations. I have to make good friends, real friends, because I don't want to be an idiot. I don't want to be a loser. I don't want to make nothing in my life. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to be addicted to these things that I'm addicted to. You know what I mean? I want to be a genuine, real human being that's doing things to impact this community in a positive way. And I need those things because I want people to show up to my fucking funeral. Orange roses.
That's very strange.
Why do you think it's strange, man?
I think it's a strange motivation. Like,
what part of it, though?
Like, you're like, because I want people at my funeral. In the end, that's your drive.
That's the metaphor.
That's like your driving life force.
No, all right. Maybe I didn't explain it very well.
You know what I mean?
Because
like,
that's my fear in the dream, right?
That's like the fear motivation part.
I'm not doing the things I'm doing because I want people to show up to my funeral. I'm saying in the back of my head, metaphorically, that put a fear in me to where I felt like I needed to be relevant.
That's like one of the driving.
Yes, it's like it's the gas in the car.
That's like the fear side, though. There's also like the non-fear.
Good point.
Like,
all right, so I'm listening to you. So you think my fear of no one showing up is what drives me to do the things I do?
I think it's part of the driver, you know, like everybody's driven by fear, by other things, you know. Like,
do you think that's healthy of me?
I think fear is like very powerful emotion. So like you can use it to drive you to do things, you know. I think there's a healthy fear for sure.
Really?
A healthy fear of being a like.
Do you think that one's healthy?
And
if you don't, what do you think would be better?
I think it's only part of the driving force. I think you should have some healthy fears of, you know, just being a miserable, good for nothing, like making no contribution.
You want me to be miserable?
No, you should have a fear of being miserable, like a fear basically of nobody showing up, of like you never did anything good and nobody cares that you died. Like that's a good fear, like that's a good driving fear.
So do you think that it's healthy for me to feel that way, I guess?
I think you should also find a balance, though. You should find a balance of like.
So what would be the better thing?
There's like other things that motivate you to do what you're doing, like because you have a love or you really want to make a contribution. Like you think of the positive that you want to do, and it makes you feel good. It's
I think
not
I
really
do that too, though.
Yeah. Not totally driven by fear, but driven by.
Yeah, I don't think it's totally by fear. Like, I think that that's part of it, right? Because I think I'm acknowledging the part of me that has those fears. Yeah. But I think that, like, there's a part of me that just... I don't think about that all the time. Honestly, when it came up right now, was the like, it hasn't come up in years. Yeah. But I remember being weird about it. And I remember telling all my friends, like, dude, you got to do that. Because I think maybe at the time I was driven by fear. Which is probably why I don't think about that anymore. But I think maybe that thought lives in me. I think that I do the things I do now because it makes me happy. I'm at a genuinely peaceful point in my life where I don't have time for anything that doesn't make me happy. And if it doesn't make me happy, I accept that it's a real thing, right? And life's not always going to make you happy. But I do my best to seek things that do. And I think I surround myself with people that encourage me to be that way. Yeah. And that makes me happy, man. What do you think? Good. What do you think for you? Do you, and you can share whatever you feel comfortable with, by the way. Can you think of a time in your life where you're maybe not going the best direction that you wanted to go, right?
Oh, yeah.
And just think of that time. What do you think? Like, what do you think gets you out of that place? Because I think me and you have similar stories, but we have different solutions, but they both worked. And so, like, I think I've talked a little bit about mine. What do you think worked for you? And if you're comfortable sharing any of the backstory, go for it. But what? Maybe tell me about a time that you were struggling in life, and what do you think helped? But maybe just start with the struggle part. Can you tell me about a time where you weren't doing so well?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know that I've struggled with addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
maybe talk about that a little bit, because I know that about you, and I want you to share only what you're comfortable with. Like, what are you willing to share, or what are you comfortable with? Like, when you say addiction, what were you using? What were you, how old were you maybe? And just kind of maybe talk about that a little bit.
All right. Well,
I'm going to refill my water cup real quick, but keep talking.
Okay, cool. It started off when I was just probably second or third year in college, and I was playing basketball one day, and I ended up freaking fracturing my ankle. And I think that was like pretty much the beginning of my using of hard drugs, of opiates, because I started getting some, like, I stopped boxing at that point. Like, I was training in boxing, and I was like riding my bike to school, and I was just living like a very active life. I was going. Yeah. And things were kind of good, but something was off though internally. I could definitely recall, like, I had so much anxiety and like uncomfortable unhappiness going on with my own self for some reason.
Just like before that?
Yeah, like an awkward, some type of energy. Like I was almost like a bottomless pit, or like wasn't happy with myself, and like had a very low perspective of my own self, like a really low self-worth.
So do you think whenever you broke your ankle?
So I broke my ankle playing basketball, like I fractured it, and I was just like lazy. I was just out of the game, just boom, just laying up. And I just went and started hanging out with some of my other friends from high school, like less reputable people that weren't doing shit, just playing video games and just hanging out. And they had some Oxycontin pills, some Oxycontin prescription pills. And I tried one, and like it really did something good for me. I remember that first experience, like so it just
let me take you back a little bit. So you asked them for the pills, or they just offered it because of your ankle?
Well, I was just hanging out with them, and then they got some, and they were doing it, and they offered a little bit, so I tried some too.
Do you think that you took it because you were hurting physically?
No, I think I was just like, it just threw me out of my active life, so I was just like, boom, lazy, and I was off my game, and I was just chilling. Then I went and I was chilling with the people that weren't so good for my life, and they were doing it, so I just tried it then too.
Got you. I just want to see, because some people do opiates because they want to, because they have a real injury.
Because they were injured.
So you're saying that your motivation was just because so they were doing them for fun. Yeah. And they said, "Hey, Yemi, do you want to try some of this?" Yeah. Do you remember what they were?
Yeah, they were blue. We called them blue boys.
Were they?
They were fucking.
Are they like
Oxycontin? 30 milligram.
And I've never done Oxycontin. Is it like
It's like a synthetic heroin.
Is it like a muscle relaxer, pain reliever? What would you?
I would say it's like a numbing.
A numbing.
Relaxing.
So you feel it more physically.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure.
And mentally.
Mentally too. Yeah. So you started taking these around them, and then keep going from there.
So I was just messing with those. Like, it just started off this whole thing. Like all of my everything else in life kind of took a back seat, and I was just hanging out with these friends of mine that weren't doing much, and just doing the same shit and just getting high. It became like a cycle. And I was just doing these prescription drugs for a while. Like my grades started falling, my performance in college, like boom, my relationship with my brother who was boxing, everything started boom, boom. Everything like steadily degraded over time. degrading, and then all of a sudden, like, some weird shit happened with all the doctors in Las Cruces, and like the pills became super fucking like hard to find. Like, just like from one week to the next, like, boom, they were like gone. It was weird. Like, they cracked down on the doctors who were prescribing them.
Mm-hmm.
So they just like went away. And up until that time, I was like, I'll never do heroin. But then that day came, and I was like, damn, these things just got way more expensive. I was like, let me just try some of that cheap heroin. So I just... was after like about 3 years of doing...
Did somebody tell you that? Like, did you know that it'd be a similar high? Like, was there... You don't have to give their names, but was there a friend or someone that said, hey, since these aren't around, you should try this?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where you got the idea from?
Yeah, and I kind of knew. It's like hanging around with the same people in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like a similar circle. The ones that would do the oxys were also in that same heroin circle or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I started doing like the harder drugs at that point, like heroin. Started doing heroin.
What was that like, man? I don't know if that's a hard thing.
It was very similar thing. Just like a little bit stronger, a little cheaper.
If
like
you were explaining
like
to someone that's never done anything remotely like that, right?
Yeah.
How would you say, like, do you feel warm? Like, what do you think? Yeah,
you feel warm, numb, kind of,
and more like
super relaxed,
say, right?
almost like falling asleep. It's like
really
super downer. It's a downer, just turning off all of the anxiety.
So when you first did heroin and you got off the oxys and then you went to the heroin, was it better than the oxys, would you say?
It was stronger and cheaper.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say better. Very similar. But at that point, I already like could admit to myself that I was like very addicted and like had a big problem, and it was already causing huge issues in my life using the pills.
Oh man, that's...
So
I guess when I ask these questions, I don't want
beast.
anyone to think that I'm asking them because I'm like... I take it very seriously. I guess I'm mostly trying to understand what it's like to be someone that went through that, because I have a similar addiction thing, but in a different thing, right? And if someone asked me, I'd want them to understand what it's like, because if someone's considering it, I want them to understand where it leads, right? And so that's where I'm asking. And so you're saying, so if you don't mind me asking this, you just said something. You said that you knew that you were already having issues. You knew that you were losing your family. You knew that your relationships were coming to a distance before you even did heroin.
Yep.
But yet you did it anyways.
Oh yeah, I was already in big trouble. Like, I was already highly addicted and dependent on that substance.
Like, would you say physically?
Physically, yeah.
You're dependent on it.
Yeah, the opiates are very physically addicting. Like, you don't realize it for a little while at the beginning, but then you realize, like, oh shit, I kind of need that shit to like feel all right. Yeah, so like, it's scary.
Is it hard for you talking about it or no?
No.
Okay.
Because
I just want to ask.
I'm not telling like a war story or anything. I'm just telling like it was an experience.
Yeah. What's your war story? Yeah, these are your war stories. I guess if we can classify them as anything, but I just want to make sure, man.
Yeah. So it was just a cycle of destruction. Like, just like I don't know. I think like the problems just continued to mount, but all I was doing was just needing to get high, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I was never like taking any solutions. Things were only getting worse. And then I was just losing more and more integrity. So I was just like doing worse and worse things to get the high. Like at times, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like lying and stealing and just shysting people and just fight, like weird conflicts, and just really I was just doing a lot of shitty things, you know?
Yeah.
At that point. So it was a struggle for.
And how long?
It was about a 5-year thing.
5 year span.
5 or 6 years, yeah.
Dang, I don't even think I knew that. I think I knew you struggled, but I didn't know it was that long of a window. So for 5 years. So I'm going to assume by the end of this, if your relationships with your family and friends were already going down the drain, by the end of the 5 years, they've got to be in like a pretty shitty spot at that point, right?
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you remember a moment or anything where you're like, hey, I got to stop doing this? Or
yeah, I wasn't even like really lying to myself after a point. I was just like, damn, this is terrible. Like, and I was fucking like completely miserable with it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't like what I was doing at all. Like, I wasn't even in denial. I was just like, oh fuck, this is sucky. Like, But it's hard to change when you're in that fucking like whole group and cycle and routine and stuff. It's like it's hard to make a change out of
So how did you do it?
I needed a nudge from the judge, or so they say. But basically, they had to send in a freaking task force to my house, and they took me to jail.
So what was the task force doing there?
It was a drastic fucking removal from the situation.
So they came in looking for drugs, and they found you guys?
Oh, no, they came into my house because I was absconding already from probation. So they had
what does that mean?
Absconding. Like
you weren't checking in?
Yeah, I wasn't checking in. So they had a warrant for my arrest, and they came.
Got you. So they came. Did you have drugs on you when they came there? Like, what did they arrest you for? Just for missing probation?
Yeah, it was just for missing probation because I already had a felony of possession.
Were you high when they arrested you?
Yeah, for sure.
So you went to jail
all the time. I was always high.
So you went to jail, kind of high.
And I did have a little stuff in my possession. At the
really?
time.
So they probably charged you with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Dude, my nose is kicking up right now.
That's a whole story in itself.
Yeah. No, I want to keep following you. What'd you say? That was a cool story in itself?
No, that's a whole story.
Which one? What part?
Like getting caught with that other stuff.
Okay. Is it a story you want to talk about or no?
We'll just keep going.
Okay.
Okay.
So they catch you go to jail, and that's where you decide to get clean?
So that was the beginning of my like escape from that situation. That was definitely, like, at first I was like, oh fuck, this is terrible, like, poor me.
Yeah.
But looking back, I'm like, oh my goodness, thank goodness, like, thank you for
Why
that.
did you think poor me? Let's go back to that.
Because I'm fucking going to jail, you know what I mean? Like, everybody's like, nobody wants to go to jail.
Yeah,
no. So they're gonna be like, oh fuck, why me? You know what I mean?
And I can't get high in jail.
Yeah, it's like, holy fuck, this is gonna suck.
And then what happened in jail?
Sucks.
Was it? I'm assuming it's a pretty terrible first 48 hours to probably 3 days, right? Just detoxing.
Oh, it was a miserable like 25 days for me.
Oh shit!
It was a miserable.
See, this is good insight because people always assume it's way quicker.
No, it was hard. It was
Coming off of heroin was pretty tough.
It was like in my bones and stuff.
I've heard stories like this, and so literally like, damn man. So like you felt in your bones.
Yeah.
Like, was it like? Did you have trouble sleeping, eating? Like what was it like?
Like I remember the feeling, like sleeping was very terrible, and like eating, like everything was just really like, it sucked. Like sour stomach, completely sour for like a week or two.
Yeah.
And sleeping, couldn't sleep for sure. Just like sweating and up all night type of no sleep, like a fever almost.
Yeah.
So it's really hard. And then like I remember the experience of like, after about 2 or 3 weeks, like eating food, and then you know how when you eat something sour and it fucking like hurts right here, like that, like it's
like the zing of it.
Yeah, like your glands, like sting. I remember like eating food was like that for a whole week.
Like food in general.
Like the flavors were just coming back, just boom.
Oh Jesus!
Like I remember like things like that were happening. Like I could feel myself coming back to life almost.
Really?
Like coming back from the dead.
Dude, that's interesting, man. That's like, a cool concept.
Things were coming back on, like reactivating, like my sense
all
of
your
taste
senses, all the things that you were suppressing. Did your dreams get weird as fuck?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
for sure. They like intense, vivid dreams for sure. I don't recall them specifically, but I've always had like a weird thing with dreams.
Yeah,
like getting messages about the way I'm living and everything. But yeah, I think, I don't know, dreams are a trip.
And then, so whenever all this was happening, how long did you do in jail?
So I did 5.5 months in jail.
And then you got out and you went to a halfway house?
Yeah, I got court ordered to a recovery home in Alamogordo.
And what do you think about that recovery home?
I think it was a great experience. Like when I was in jail, I was afraid to get out. I was afraid to be released back to the streets because I didn't know. You know, I was worried because if they would have let me out, I feel like I would have been in a similar situation to when I went in. Same people, same area. And I was just kind of praying. I was like, just let everything be wiped away. Just wipe all of the old things away. And my prayers were kind of answered. Like my old apartment, boom.
So your recovery home had an apartment? Is that what it is?
No. Like when I was in jail?
Yeah.
Like the apartment I was living at before I went to jail. Like boom, that got closed out.
Oh, the whole apartment did?
The whole apartment got closed out.
Oh, shit.
everything, just all the old stuff gone, all of it gone.
So it wasn't even there. Even if you did go back, it wouldn't have existed.
Yeah, that got wiped out. My phone, they confiscated it. It was gone. So no old phone, no old house. So things were getting wiped away, and I was still afraid. I was like, all right, so I don't know what's going to happen when I get out of here, but I was a little worried, like, what am I going to do?
Gotcha.
And then the judge court-ordered me to a year at the recovery home. So
that worked out.
I felt like that was another, like, universe was just kind of guiding me.
So what was the recovery home like? Because I feel like when people hear recovery home, they don't really know what that is. So maybe break down, like, what it is. So
it's like a big property, and there was dorms in the property, and it's a men's recovery home. It's just all men. And
when you say property, is it like a home or is it like an apartment building?
Like a piece of land. It was a big piece of land with buildings.
Like multiple
buildings, yeah.
And then so there's rooms in each building, I'm assuming, right?
There was like a dorm, like a stretch of dorms over here, like maybe 5 big rooms with 30 beds over here, and then there was a main building right here with offices where the... So
how many people were in the recovery home total?
There was like, it ranged, but there was like at most 56.
It's a lot,
and
man.
at least like 25 or
I'm
20.
glad you explained that because I was picturing something different.
Yeah, it was big. It was
and then this is kind of like where you did most of your work, huh?
Yeah, it was a good experience for sure. It was all AA based, like Alcoholics
like 12
Anonymous.
steps?
Yeah, it was a 12-step thing. So we would have to wake up at like 5:30 in the morning.
And do what at 5:30?
Morning meditation at 5:30. So the whole house wakes up and we'd go read the big book, like read some passages out of it.
Yeah.
And then we just start our day like everybody had to work to pay rent. You had to pay rent there, so you had to find a job within the first month and just start paying rent and just living, doing your thing.
Do you think that you found, what do you think you gained the most out of that year? Like, what do you attribute? Because you've been doing very well since then. So, like, is there something in your mind that you can pick out, like, this is one of those things that, like, did it for me, or... It was having this. Was it the structure? Was it the motivation, ambition? Was it just being in a different place than your old apartment? What do you think it was?
I think it was like all of those things put together. Like like I was just boom. It was like a timeout, new city. I was just only responsible for myself. So it was like all my time was just me time. You know, I just had to learn how to live. New with city myself is
Alamogordo, right?
Yeah, unfamiliar city. Not too far away, but just an hour
Far
away.
enough. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it was a cool experience.
Like, what's the name of the home? I feel like you should shout it out.
It's called the Step House.
The Step House in Alamogordo.
Yep.
And I think it's good for them because they'll probably get more people to go, and it's good for people like me and you who care that people get help they need.
Yeah.
And so if someone was going through something similar to what you were just talking about, they could go there, right?
Yep.
And then do you know what it takes to get in there? Like, could someone just call that place?
Yep. You can just call.
And then you just got to be serious about your recovery, right? Mm-hmm. Do you have to go to jail to go there?
No.
Okay.
Not even.
Is everyone listening? You don't have to go to jail. You could just call.
It's a good place to go.
Yeah. But you'll probably go to jail.
I think it takes a drastic relocation or like uprooting to change out of that situation.
Yeah, which is why I made the comment you'll probably go to jail. And when I say that, I don't mean it in a sense of like you're a loser, you're going to go to jail. I definitely don't mean that. As someone who's been to jail, like I'm saying that like you're probably going to go to jail, meaning there sometimes it takes, like you just mentioned earlier, like a moment where all you're thinking about is, fuck, I'm going to jail. I'm ruining my life. Sometimes it's a moment that actually saves your life. Yeah. You know what I mean? What's the point in saving your record and all these things if you're not alive to have one?
Yeah.
Dude, I really appreciate you talking about
if you look back in
that
hindsight,
part of it. Say it again?
I mean, looking back in hindsight, it was what I needed to change, to make a change. So.
Yeah, it's weird. I talked about that a little bit in the last podcast with me going to rehab. I feel like that was a huge part of it. It's weird because, like, with mine, and I know that, like, this is already the 3rd podcast we're doing, and I think I've talked about recovery or suicidal thoughts, substance abuse, in almost every podcast. And so I don't want people getting the wrong idea. I am not sober. So you are sober. You don't drink at all.
No.
Yeah. And so with me, I am not sober. I do drink. And so when I say recovery or when I work with people in recovery, my version of it's very different because, and me and you have talked about this recently, I have a different view of it, and I am dealing with the view of it that involves me, and I think that's the way that everyone should view it, is what's best for you and what do you think works for you, and if it doesn't work for you, then don't do it. And so it's like with me, it's very different because I with my rehab, and I won't go through the whole thing because I talked about it in the last one, but it wasn't about stopping these things that are ruining my life. It was about controlling the things that are controlling me, and I felt like I'm a controlling person, and so I need to know that I'm balanced enough and I'm making the right decisions and I'm prioritizing the things to be able to be that person, and it worked out very well for me. And I just turned 30, and there's no like people think when it's like you're fixed, right? Yeah. You're in recovery, so you're good now? No, that's not how it fucking works. You can fuck up at any goddamn moment. And so it's a constant battle of like what things are in my life that I'm working with. You know what I mean? What am I surrounding myself with? What things am I doing to make sure I don't feel the same way I felt that day? Right. And I think that's the way that people should look at their own recovery. And I enjoy hearing yours because I think yours is a traditional version of what a lot of people say. And I would never, ever encourage anyone to do what I do, because I think that if you can't do something, the hardest thing to do is to just go, hey, I can't do this. Yeah. That is the most manly thing that you can do. It is the most honest thing that you can do. It is appreciated. It's admired. When someone says, hey, this just isn't my thing, you know what I mean? I can't do this. That's pretty fucking awesome. You know what I mean? And I think that that's the thing that it is. I would encourage someone to do that. Some people need to learn how to manage things, right? And I think that that's another part of it. Right. And so that's my version of it, is I think that I need to manage things better, and I think I do. I'm at a point in my life where I'm genuinely happy, and I manage things, and if they get out of control, it's up to me to check myself and put them back into control. And if I ever got to a point where they're out of control, then it would be at that my point. It would be on me at that point to give those things up. But I feel confident enough in my ability to make those choices. And so like that's where I'm at with everything. But
that's cool. So after being at the step house for 16 months, I was in that same position. I was like, I'm a serious heroin addict, but I'm not really an alcoholic, you know what I mean? And I was in an AA program.
Maybe I can do that.
So I'm going to have some drinks. I had those reservations. I'm like, I'm going to have some drinks, smoke a little weed, because I think I can control those things. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I tried that, and it wasn't like anything crazy happened. Mm-hmm. Like there was like maybe a period of 4 or 5 months when we first met. Yeah. Yeah, it was in between my sobriety dates.
Yeah, we drank the first time I met you. I was
drinking some alcohol.
And you did not act crazy at all.
Occasionally, yeah. And nothing really got out of hand, but I could just feel that, like, I wasn't progressing, though. Mm-hmm. And I could feel, like, maybe just stagnancy in my life in general. Like, I could feel that it wasn't as good as when I was completely sober. Yeah. Like, there was, like, small back steps in my whole integrity and, like, self-worth. And, like, the way that I felt about life, it was, like, taking small steps backwards instead of just, I felt better when I was completely sober. And just,
do you still feel that same way today?
I definitely feel like it's an advantage, and it works. It's working best for me. It works best for me to just be completely sober.
Well, I'm super fucking proud of you, dude. I think that anyone that's cool. able to see that is like pretty goddamn awesome, man. And I think that you're brave. I think that you're impressive, and I think that you're someone to be looked up to. I look up to you for sure. I really do, because I think it's it's that people don't do that, dude. And trust me, like I've been through enough stuff, and I still am going through it to know that like every little thing takes a lot of effort, and the fact that you are where you are is fucking amazing. And the fact that you get the grades that you get, and you try hard, you're a dad, you know what I mean, you're a really fucking good one, like it's like those things are like super cool, and people, it's quick to just summarize them. Recovery, dad, but there's so much like shit that goes into that, you know what I mean? And I think that I can appreciate those things because they're different than what I am. There are a lot of things that I want to be, and I want to be surrounded by the people that I admire. Even if I'm never a dad, which I think I will be. Yeah, I want to be around other people. Yeah, I think I will be. But I'm saying in a weird world, if I never was, I think I would still admire you for being a dad. And I know that if I were to have a child, I don't want to be surrounded by people that I don't think are good dads. And so it's like
that changes a lot. For sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure it will when I actually
when
have
you have
them.
a child, you don't want to be around anybody who's
Really
not good. Yeah, because you don't want
I feel like I'll be
anything to
overly
happen
like
to your
that.
child. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh,
Yeah, it becomes extra like you kind of have to take extra care of like what you're doing, huh?
yeah,
You can't just make dumb decisions.
yeah.
I'm
sure.
already, from everything I've talked about today, like being fucking like sketched out by death and like being like, I get nervous, man. I think I think that if I have a kid, you know, I'll honestly say this, I think I'm going to be a pretty awesome dad. And I mean
think so
that.
too.
But it doesn't mean that I'm confident. Like I still get nervous. I still get scared about like what my actions will be. I get nervous about what advice I'll tell my kid. I think I take that very serious because I remember the fucking advice that I got, and I'm like, damn, like they were so goddamn wrong. And or at least like my parents were, my biological parents.
Yeah, I think parenting's getting better with time. Like in a way, like good parents are getting better, like becoming better parents in a way, because like you were saying, closer to the racism, those older generations, they were closer. Like shit was just, I don't know, like
it's a little crazy,
crazier. Seems like, I don't know, it might be getting better.
Do you think that racism still exists?
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
Do you think when you said hell yeah, are you like, did something pop up in your head?
Like music, I don't know.
Music?
Strangely, like
You think music's racist?
I think like country music or something, like it just kind of emphasizes this weird racial
Dude, that's
thing.
an interesting topic.
It's
Because
kinda
you know
strange.
there's black country music artists, right?
Oh yeah.
So are
Yeah,
you
for
saying
sure.
like country in general, or are you talking about someone specific?
I'm talking very generally, like the sound of it, like the sound of country.
Does it irk you?
No, it doesn't irk me, but it makes me think some type of way, like it feels very like southern or something, like it has a racial thing. And like hip hop and country, they're like two clashing things, like kind of.
Well, they're not so much
They're
anymore.
kind of fusing it,
Yeah,
in a way, but it is kind of new. And
well, I like what you're saying because I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way with all country songs? Is there
no, not all of them, but some of them, like the accents are really pronounced and stuff, and like.
Do you think it's the accent that makes it weird?
Yeah.
What about Darius Rucker? Do you think his accent's weird?
He's black, right?
Yes. I wasn't gonna tell you that.
I don't know. Like,
He has the same country accent.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm more curious to think that, because I think that I guess I'm understanding what you're saying, right? I don't think that you're wrong at all, by the way. I think there's something to what you're saying, because there's a historic slavery in the South, and the Southern accent reminds you of the South, which reminds you of that, so that it feels a certain way. So I guess I'm trying to tie in like where it comes from.
But that's just the quintessential black-white racism. I'm sure that there's racism happening between all the other Mexican, Asians coming across, like
I don't know,
like Indians. There's a lot of like stereotypical.
Here's my theory on this. I feel like everyone's racist.
Yeah, for sure.
Like everyone's racist, because if you really break down what racism is, it's really judging a person by their culture or ethnicity or race, without really knowing anything. Mm-hmm. Everyone does it. Everyone does it.
And almost automatic.
Some people do it way worse, and obviously white people have a history of being the worst at it, right? That's the original sin of the United States, right? Is slavery. And so like that's a real thing. Anyone that says it's not a real thing is fucking crazy. It's a real thing. And so there's truth to that, right? But when I break it down, the thought, we're in a day and age where it's less like common, but it still exists, right? That's why I asked you that. Mm-hmm. But
like acting out, like seeing actions of hatred that are blatantly racist.
Yes, to me it's the intent, right? Because a racist thought can happen, right? Yeah. But what is your intent? What are your actions doing? What is your intention with what you're doing? And I think you can tell when someone's being intentionally racist, and then that person should be called out. And you're like, dude, what are you doing? Right? Yeah. Preferably peacefully, right? Like, hey, do you not know yet? You know what I mean? Like, do I need to fucking like enlighten you? But there's also a person that's unintentionally racist because they grew up around a thing, and those people should also be enlightened and talked about. But I think some people just don't know, and I think it's important to remember that, like, I guess like what I'm really getting at, this is always super hard for a white dude to talk about, but I feel like I grew up in a place where I was born was a predominantly black community. Probably second race was maybe, I want to say, Asian in my neighborhood, and then white people were third. And I grew up in a really, really shitty neighborhood in Louisiana.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was predominantly a black community.
Yeah.
Few Asians, and then I think my family was the only white family that lived in my block.
Oh, man.
And then I moved to El Paso, Texas.
Oh, shit.
Predominantly Hispanic.
Yep.
And then I moved to Las Cruces, New Mexico, predominantly Hispanic. So I've always been the least common. I will never refer to myself as a minority, right? Because that's not what I'm saying. But I was not the major. Like, I've never grown up in, like, what's the widest place you can think of? Fucking
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, huh? Fucking Wisconsin.
Iowa.
Wherever the white people live. Like, I've never grown up and been predominantly in a white community where, like, it's weird like that, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I've never understood racism. Because I always thought, like, wait, what? Like, you know what I mean? And so it's like, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? And you have to, as a white person, you have to understand that there's this huge history. It took me a long time to figure that out, because I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, the majority of my friends are black. The majority of my friends are Hispanic. You know what I mean? And I had like 2 or 3 white friends my whole life. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, like, those friends were cool, but it wasn't what I was drawn to. And so I didn't understand that there was this divide. I just kind of, because I don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And so you have to learn how to, like, judge when it exists.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I guess my main point is that everyone feels a little bit, because I guess the point of my story, culturally, I grew up around that. And so, and I make this joke a lot with my friends. I may have made this joke with you before, and it is in fact a joke, but I do kind of feel this way. I feel that I might be a little bit racist against white people, because I find myself more judgy of that typical white kind of thing from Wisconsin, if we're going to use that as a template.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying, though, right?
Yeah,
like, I find it a little bit annoying. I don't click with it right away. I think it's like, it's just not me. And so, like, me admitting that is saying that, like, man, I kind of feel that way, you know what I mean? Like, I feel awkward hanging out with a bunch of white people, and I feel kind of calm hanging out with my group of friends, which is predominantly black or Hispanic. Yeah. And so, like, being honest with myself, I'm like, all right, like, I think I might have this weird feeling towards, like, that specific type of people. At the end of the day, like, I judge people individually on who they are.
Yeah.
But I'm saying there's, like, a little undertone of it, right?
Yeah, I feel a similar way about black people.
Do you really? What do you mean, though?
Like almost like not clicking with them, like you said, like a little bit annoyed by that kind of like ghetto, if you want to say ghetto, or like, yeah, especially the speech, like the speaking dialect. If it's too thug or like ghetto dialect, that's a real turnoff. Well, remember we talked about how
we did. To me, that means you don't like ghetto talk. Right?
Yeah,
because trust me, I know some white people that talk like that. I know some Hispanic people that talk like that. I know a Puerto Rican that talks like that. So I get what you're saying. It's just like, if we're going to speak in generalities, it comes off that way, right?
Yeah.
And they exist. And so, like, we can't deny those. So I get what you're saying.
Super generalities, yeah, like I have a judgment of black people in a way. But I know, like, it comes down to the individual and who they are and what.
Yes, we would never just cap it off, right? That you know what I mean? That's like saying, like, I ate a bad slice of pizza, so I don't eat pizza.
Yeah, because
right, fuck pizza. No, you just ate, like, the wrong pizza. Maybe you want different toppings, right? And so, like, you never should put a cap on everything, right?
Right.
But there's a root of that, and I think people, if I had to guess, people are scared to admit that, right? So I think that you're brave for saying what you said. I hope that I'm brave for saying what I said, because I don't mean it in a mean way. I have plenty of, my family's white, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm half white and half black.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Like,
I guess that's important to mention too. Which parent is white, which parent's black?
My mom's white and my dad is African.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, when we're saying white and black, it's like, it's so general, like,
literally, there's not a Whitesville and Blacksville.
Yeah,
but we get what we're talking about.
White people are like Germans, Irish, English.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And no one taught me that growing up either, by the way.
Spaniards. So when you start looking at, like, where are you actually from? What is your bloodline? Like, it gets so much deeper into, like, what people actually are, like, and there's so much differences.
We're products of our environment. Regardless of the color, if you put someone in a specific place long enough, they're gonna fall towards those tendencies.
Yeah.
And so it's just the way it goes. There's nothing wrong with enjoying where you're from. There's nothing wrong with clicking up with your culture, race, religion, whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But closing your eyes to everything else is what's wrong. And saying that this is me, this is my circle, so everything else is stupid. No, you're stupid for not wanting to understand other people outside of your circle. Yeah. And I think that's what I meant when this conversation started, when I said everyone has a little bit of that in, right? Mm-hmm. Call it racism, call it sexism, call it whatever ism you want to call it. The bottom line is you're looking at what you think is comfortable and saying everything else is wrong, and that is fucking stupid. We all have tendencies, but when you meet an individual, judge them for who they are in that moment. And if they're stupid, then they're stupid, and you go, I don't want anything to do with you. And if they're awesome, then they're awesome, and you hang out with them and grow. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where it's like, if I don't get you, I am more interested. I really want to know more, because who am I to make a judgment off non-facts? No one deserves the right to do that. But if someone were to have, they should at least know all the facts, right? What questions have you asked? What research have you done? Have you tried to understand the things you don't understand?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that that's the most important part of our society, is that like we need to like take a genuine interest in the other person. There's literally been times at a party or wherever we're at, where I'll be hanging out with a bunch of people for fucking hours, maybe 2 hours, right? And some other white person will come up to me and like, hey man, is it weird that we're the only 2 white people here?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh shit, we are the only 2 white people here. Like I didn't even think of that. Like I was just enjoying my moment. And then this fucker came along and told me that, and I'm like, why? Like, obviously he was thinking about that. You know what I mean? But I'm like, those are the reminders to myself that I'm like, oh, like I don't give a fuck about all that shit. You know what I mean? And maybe there was another white person there. It wasn't about that. Maybe there was mostly white people, like in a different scenario. It doesn't matter. If you're enjoying your time and you're around people you love and you're having fun with and good conversations and you're invoking thought and you're growing and you're doing all the things that you need to be the better version of you, then who gives a fuck, man? Who gives a fuck about any of that stuff?
Yeah, for real.
That's the way I feel about it.
That's true. I was gonna say, I feel like there's a program running, like a surface level, like a mass program running, like, and that's where the racism is like residing, and it's like coming through the media. It's coming through the cultural norms of the American society. Yeah. Like all the movies and shit, just like.
Do you think it's like?
So it's like.
What do you mean a program?
It's a basic program, like a base level program.
Some Matrix shit, man.
Yeah, Matrix. Yeah. So like if you're just being a surface dweller and you're kind of like being lazy with your life and like not going into the moments. Yeah.
I feel like hat's fucking hurting my.
Oh, cool.
My beautiful ears. All right, we're good.
So if you're just being a surface dweller, like kind of just being shallow and not engaging in your own life. Then you're kind of just running these basic level programs. You know what I mean? And you're just judging people automatically, like, oh, he's a black person, like, oh, they're ghetto. You know what I mean? Like, and like, so
you're just going off the program.
That's just running for everybody, but it takes actually like some self-searching, some like in those moments, you start a random conversation. You give the person a little bit of time a day. You start that conversation. You're like, oh, where are you actually from? You get more details. You know, you get those experiences because you're just there, and you can like take a step out of that basic level and be like, wait, this is just an individual. I don't know anything about them. Like, it takes a little bit to have that openness to, because a lot of people might just be operating on that like very selfish, closed, running just the basic level.
Do you think they got that programming from like their family? Like mom and dad said this shit, so like that's how I feel too.
Yeah.
You think
just
so?
Just being around people that are.
I feel like that's for sure. Like it. I guess I like to be kind, right? Simple, though. What were you saying?
I don't know if it's like that simple, but that's just
I don't think it's that simple. But I get what you're saying. Yeah. Like when you refer to the program, in my head, I like to think of the program being your environment. And if you, I'll give you an example. If you were my roommate for 5 years, maybe I felt really good when I moved in with you, right? Yeah. But let's say you thought that I was just a shitty dresser. Like I dress like shit. Like I have shitty swag. Yeah. I don't know how to put shirts together, right? Let's say let's say whether that's true or not, right? I walk in and I feel good about myself. Let's say my bar's at 100. Mm-hmm. And once a month you mention to me like, hey man, like You gotta stop dressing like that when we go out. Like you're that's like something you can work on. You'll get it though. And like every month you kind of said something like that. Hey man, like it's cool. You're funny, man. You may be a shitty dresser, but at least you're funny.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing, right? Let's say like 3 years into that, like you know what I mean? You're like, oh, like man, like I'm so glad you've grown a lot, man. If only you dress better. Like, like by year 5,
Jeez.
and obviously it's a long timeline. At the end of it, my brain has now been programmed from you doing all these small little things over the years that I dress like shit. And so now I think this way. And so now I'm overcompensating by doing different things. Maybe I act more arrogant because I think it'll overcompensate for my shitty dressing that may or may not exist. And so maybe that is the programming, right? And obviously we're using dressing. This could be anything. This could be racism. This could be politics, religion, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you put this idea, you're a product of the environment you're in. In that same scenario, let's say I dress the same exact way. I've never changed my style. But instead I live the same 5 years with a roommate that just reminds me I'm an awesome dresser. And maybe I'm not. But maybe this person says I am because that's the way they feel. And so it makes me feel like I am. You know what I mean? I'm a product of that environment. And maybe I grow this arrogance about the way I dress. So maybe the 5 years later in this reality is me pretending and being this arrogant person because I think I'm the shit because someone fed my ego for 5 years and told me I was awesome at it. And so it's the same thing, right? Let's say I dressed the same in both those stories. The impact of the people around me changed how I felt. In one story, I'm arrogant. In one story, I feel like shit about myself. But in reality, I was the same person. And so when you're saying programming, that's kind of what you're referring to, right? Like we're all influenced by our environment through social media, Facebook, friends, family, whatever. And so we end up being those people. In a lot of ways, those things are our parents.
Our
Probably
parents
more than our parents are our
big.
parents. Yeah.
And the media, like all the stuff we're consuming, such as movies and television.
Where are you at with media, man? I know that you're not on social media a lot.
Yeah.
How far do you go with media? Books, or not books, like movies, TV shows, stuff like that. Do you get deep into it or no?
Oh, yeah. I've been watching a lot of programming, for sure. Why do you think they call it programming? You know what I mean?
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Because they're putting out all these ideas, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought of that.
And I thought it was interesting because I was thinking about marriage. For a while, I was feeling like marriage is like a big program. Like the wedding. The wedding is like a mass program that's always...
What is the program?
The program is like put a diamond ring on our finger. Put a diamond ring.
And then what?
And then have a wedding. That's a program right there. That's like something that picked up.
Yeah, a lot of...
Like,
but not everyone does that. But you're right. The majority of people do.
It's mass propagated in our media. There's like a lot of it in movies.
So what do you feel about marriage?
I think it's good.
Marriage is important?
Yeah, I feel like it's important for sure.
Do you think the ring is important?
I feel like the ring is part of the ceremony of it, for sure.
Do you think that you'll get married one day?
I hope so, yeah.
Do you think you have a ring?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How do you picture?
Maybe not a diamond though. What if I broke the diamond curse?
Yeah. What would you do instead of a diamond? Laura always liked. God, I'm gonna blank on the name right now. There's like a stone that's like. It's not a diamond. Fuck, man, I can't think of it. You talk about it. What would you pick? Because maybe it'll come to my head.
Maybe something that still looks clear, like the color of a diamond, but not quite a diamond, like a gemstone of that sort.
Because you care more about the symbolism of it than the actual stone.
Yeah, so my
diamonds are fucking bloody. Have you ever seen Blood Diamond, that movie? God damn, bro. Like, that's based not on a true story, but like that really happens. Like, that's a real thing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
God, man.
And that Netflix. Have you seen the Netflix on diamonds?
No.
One that just came out?
No.
The, what is it?
Is it explained?
Explained.
Does it explain about diamonds?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
It's pretty cool. They talked about how, like, they put out that commercial. Diamonds are a girl's best friend, or diamonds are forever.
Yes.
And just...
They have a new one where it says, the double one for your best friend and one for your soulmate. And it's like, buy 2 diamonds. Like, it was weird. I wish I remembered it. But it was, it was literally, they're going like, not only should you buy a diamond for your lover, but you should buy a diamond for your best friend. And if your lover and your best friend are the same person, then she deserves 2 diamonds. And that's what it was. It was like, buy your lady these 2 giant fucking diamonds for like, that's crazy, man.
That's like literally a program right there. They're like, buy 2 diamonds.
Yeah, yeah. Because she's not just your lover. She's your best friend. And if you buy her 1 diamond, then she's just one of those things. You know what I mean? I always felt like
trying to connect weird dots.
Have you ever been to a funeral, like not a funeral home? Maybe it's a funeral home where you buy the caskets. Have you ever been there?
Yeah.
Dude, it is a fucking nightmare, dude. I went there, again, with all the deaths in my life, they will make you feel like shit, dude. They'll be like, oh, we got this oak wood, you know what I mean? And they're like, oh, it covers from termites, so your loved ones don't get their flesh eaten. Oh, or you can get this one over here that termites may or may not get into. And it's not termites, there's a different bug. But you're like, what? They make you feel guilty. You're like, well, I'm not going to let my fucking friend get, like, eaten.
Yeah.
So you have to buy, well, then we'll get the expensive one. That's, you know what I mean? And it's just like, I hate that shit, dude. There's this programming where they make you feel like shit. In reality, it's like, well, I'm signing up to put my loved one in a box. I would assume that none of them let them be compromised, right? But they'll make you feel that way. Oh, yeah, none of them are compromised, but this one for sure won't be compromised.
It's crazy.
And you're like, what? Like, it just fucks with you, and you feel obligated to spend more money because they want money.
Business.
They say the two best businesses where people blindly spend money, and they're the most emotional, are funerals and weddings.
Yeah, see, the funeral is also a mass program, I feel like. Yeah. Because I watched a crazy show about funerals in India where they just have like a burning ceremony right there by the river.
Really?
They just burn the body, and then there's like a burner guy. It's his job.
What country is this?
It's in India somewhere. Yeah, that's how they still do it. It's like a river. And
like to this day,
they sweep the ashes into the river.
Oh my God.
This river is just full of burned bodies. But
definitely seems cheaper.
It's crazy, but it's like a different take on it. So like our cultural program is like a funeral. You gotta have a funeral with a ceremony. But there's other programs running in other countries. There's other ways to deal with death, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the funerals are definitely overpriced. But we're all suckers, man. I would fall for it. Same thing with wedding stuff. We're planning a wedding now, and I feel like there's the obligation to buy the more expensive stuff because you feel like it makes the better memory. But me and Laura have spent lots of money on trips, and we spent a little bit of money on trips. Yeah. We learned that we have about the same amount of fun. Like and then we were talking about this recently. I'm like, we make it fun. Like we make good memories. And so it's like we're trying to figure out. Some things are worth it, right? Like when you buy toilet paper, some of them feels bad on your butt, man. You're like, fuck this toilet paper. Some of them feel good, and maybe it's more expensive.
I hate that crummy toilet paper.
I'm still in the process of figuring out what fucking toilet paper I want. I know I don't want the one that fucking breaks and your fingers fall through it, or the ones that like break apart while you're rolling it. Like they just like you're like, what the fuck? Yeah. And so my point is like there's some things that's worth spending the extra dollar on, right? Yeah. But it's about some things aren't, and some things you make fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like spending $100,000 in a wedding with someone you're not happy with is stupid. So maybe you should focus on yourself and your relationship and stuff. Yeah. And if you are really happy in your relationship, maybe you spend that same $100,000 and it is fun. But maybe you spend $20,000 and it's fun. Maybe you spend $1,000 and it's fun. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like where are we prioritizing our money? Where are we prioritizing our joy? How stressful is that $100,000 one going to be? Who's going to show up? Is it going to be people we hate? Are they going to maybe ruin our wedding? Like we don't know. Right. And so it's like the putting the money value on things is silly, but value, and it's the same thing with funerals and stuff. But I think people need to really focus on their relationships and where they're at. And just being the best versions of themselves, and just being comfortable and confident with that. I think would be a good place to go to. I don't know how we got lost in that. Maybe it was just me because I feel like we were talking about funerals.
Yeah, that's good.
I feel like this is probably my longest podcast yet.
Oh really?
But I feel like dude. I feel like how long would you say?
I don't know.
No, we've been talking for a long time, huh?
Yeah.
Cool. I definitely don't want it to end. Let's do. Man, we'll do the confession thing because I think that's a tradition. We'll keep going.
Okay, that's cool.
But before we do that, man, we're having so much fun with the conversation. Is there anything that's come up for you during the whole podcast, or anything you want to bring up, ask me about, anything at all?
I don't think so.
No, yeah,
dude. It's been fun.
It's been fun, man. I feel like it flowed. Can you see how it flows a little bit better towards the end, and you just kind of get going on stuff?
Gets going. Sweet.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm really glad that you came, man. Cool. I look forward to the next one. Thanks
one of the things,
yeah, of course. One of the things that we'll do before the podcast that people that watch are probably already used to is the anonymous confessions, where we'll take an anonymous confession that somebody has posted online, and we will both give our opinions on it.
Let's do it.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right. While I'm pulling it up. There's no while. Damn, I'm so glad I turned my phone off. I'd be getting blown up. All right. This one's a little bit longer.
Okay.
But it says, I am I think they misspelled this. So either consciously toxic or consciously. Is that a word?
Conscious?
They spelled it wrong.
Concise,
so I'm gonna assume they meant consciously. Okay. I am consciously toxic. And this is what they wrote. It says, I don't even know how to say this. Sometimes I start being awful to my SO, which I'm assuming is significant other. So sometimes I start being awful to my significant other, telling them I hate them, insulting them, and being extremely mean to them without any reason. Ooh. While I'm doing it, I'm aware that I'm being toxic and awful, and I just can't stop. Afterwards, I always cry because they mean so much to me, and I never want to hurt them. I really do not know what the fuck is wrong with me. I told my significant other that if they broke up with me, I would understand. I hate myself, and I don't know why I do it. Hopefully I stop. Otherwise, I'll just break up with them myself so I don't hurt them any further. I am really sorry. I never mean the stuff I say.
Oh, man.
Oh, shit.
Interesting.
It's a deep one, man.
Yeah, it's tough.
So let's reiterate what this person's saying. Okay. I'm going to go out. I don't even want to say this. People are going to kill me for it. I think it's a girl.
Yeah.
Can I just
what gave you that opinion?
Because she said I cry and it makes me sad, and
yeah,
the reason why I think it's a girl is not because girls are the only ones that cry and are sad, is because this person's smart enough to go, hey, I'm sorry afterwards. I cry a lot. It makes me sad, and she's obviously reflecting. Guys don't normally do that, and so this is actually a good thing. I think it's a girl writing this because women typically will go.
It felt that way to me too.
Okay, cool. I just don't want to be sexist, man. But I felt like it was a girl. She's obviously mean to her person. She says really hurtful things, and then afterwards regrets them. Yeah. What advice would you give that girl?
Oh man, this is a tough one. I don't know. I think like that seems like a tough relationship dynamic that's going on there. Yeah. If that's happening over and over, I think like something's they need to start working on the situation in a constructive way.
And what would that look like if you were literally speaking to her right now? Like, what advice would you give her? Like, what's a constructive way to figure that out?
Well, so she said that she cries every time, and she always feels really bad about it. So, like, looking at that, I would be like, is there any way, like, you can have more respect in the moment? Like, how do you divert the conversation? How do you, like, once you catch yourself being really mean and ugly, like, first of all, how does it get started? You know what I mean? Like, what is he doing when these crazy exchanges take off? And, like, you guys should start talking about, like, just shutting it down, or, like, make a boundary there, bring up more boundaries, or, like not even allowing that for each other to go that far to get into it, and just kind of reminding each other, like, oh, I love you. Like, because I feel like that happens to me in my relationships, but I kind of forget, and then we get into it. But, like, in the end, it's, like, always, like, I come back to, like, I love this person. And
so if you were doing that, what do you think would be good advice to stop doing it? Like, literally, what could someone do? Let's say you were that person, right? Because I want the advice to be what you would give yourself. Let's say you were that person, and let's say you're fighting with the person you're in a relationship with, and maybe she's like, maybe it is her fault, but then you're like, you attack them, right? Or you say mean things to them, and you're like, well, you're fucking stupid, and no one likes you. That's why I don't want to talk to you, because you're dumb. And let's say that you don't really, and afterwards you go like, God, I don't think she's dumb, but like, I just wanted her to know. What advice would you give yourself, like, to stop doing that? Because it's impulsive, I'm assuming.
I would be like, think this through. Think it through.
Like, take a few seconds?
Because I would know that every time it leads to me feeling shitty and crying. So in that moment, you just gotta catch it and be like, oh wait, this is getting ugly. I need to redirect. Even just walk away, or just, she's obviously like to the point where she's analyzing and putting awareness on that it's happening over and over. So she should even have the conversation with her SO, her significant other.
Her SO?
And they should just have that awareness that they need to just walk away from each other. Just shut it down before more hurtful things are said. You know what I mean? And
I think she used the word toxic a lot. While I'm doing it, I'm always aware that I'm being toxic. I always cry because they mean so much to me. I never want to hurt them. I really don't know what the fuck's wrong with me. If they broke up with me, I would understand. So here's what I'm getting from this person.
Yeah.
I think that this person is obviously identified that they have an issue, right? And they're writing this because they're seeking a response, right, that will help them out.
Yeah.
Here's my advice to this person. If I was speaking to someone that was this person, guy or girl, because we both do it for sure. I think that if you're being toxic and let's not even use that word. If you're saying things that you don't mean, if you say something and afterwards you regret saying it, it's because you didn't mean it. And so you need to find healthier ways of saying that thing. Yeah. Here's what I've learned through my own life is sometimes people say things because it's reactionary. If you take an extra few seconds, you won't say the things that you're trying to say. Yeah. And I will raise my right hand and say that I'm guilty of doing this. I've literally said stuff and afterwards gone, why did I say that? I didn't really mean that. I was just trying to win an argument. And so
I was just trying to hurt somebody at that point. Like
that's another thing. Yeah, I just wanted to hurt you because I felt like you hurt me. Yes, and that is fucking toxic.
That sucks.
So my advice to this girl would be to giving her literal advice, shut up. Like in that moment, when you're thinking of mean things, don't say shit. Stop. And literally just think in your head for an extra 5 to 10 seconds. And if you still feel that way, still shut up. Because that's not enough time to know if you want to say those things. There's nothing wrong with walking away from a conversation. And if your significant other says that that's not okay, then you need to explain to them, this is what I need, because I react and I say mean things and I hurt when I say mean things. We have a history of this. I always say mean things and I apologize. I'm done apologizing. So I want to get to the part where I stop saying mean things. So this may not be good for you, but I promise it's healthy for me to take this moment to just fucking think about how I feel. It's better for me, so give me that. And even if they don't let you, do it anyways. Because I would much rather be the person that walked away rudely than said some of the things. Because almost always you walk away, and I've done this in arguments, where it's heated and I go, I can't even fucking talk right now. And I go in the other room and I sit there, I think, and I say the things in my head that I wanted to say to that person. Like, you don't fucking respect me, you never respect me, like, you always do this shit, like, you don't fucking love, like, whatever it is, right? And then you vent, and then you go, yeah, I don't want to tell her that. Because she does respect me. She didn't right now. But she does respect me normally. And so you start, like, things make more sense.
Start thinking about everything.
And
instead
then
of just that painful moment,
it's no longer emotional.
Thinking about the whole thing.
Yes. And maybe she doesn't respect you. Maybe he doesn't. At that point, you get to, like, reflect on that. And then now go like, all right, let me think of a more positive way to say this real feeling, because I'm about to say it angrily. And then you can always just say it in a better way. That's my overall point. Cool. And I'll give you the best tip at all if this is a guy, and I know this one's probably a girl. Yeah. But so take the time and walk away. And if you come back and argue again, walk away again. That would be my advice to this girl. If you're a guy and if you don't know what to do, and I'm giving everyone this advice, I don't know. Go masturbate.
What?
I swear to God, if you're gonna say some dumb shit or make a huge decision, go jerk off, and then think about it. Because guys do not think straight when they have all that stuff going on in their body. I don't know why, but you think clear afterwards. And most people that listen right now, they're probably gonna laugh, and then they're gonna go, "Wait, what?" Like, think about it. Think about the feeling you get afterwards and how clear and level-headed your body releases hormones. You just, like, things function better with men. And so that's literally my advice.
I don't know about that.
I'm just saying, dudes, if you're about to do some crazy shit. I disagree
with that one.
Not on the spot, man. But I'm saying, like, leave it alone. If you're in a public place, go home, lock yourself in the bathroom, masturbate, and then think about it, and then figure out what you're going to do. I think that you think clear after you masturbate. That's my thought. Why don't you believe me? Or why don't you? What do you think?
I just disagree with that approach.
I think it works, man.
Because of non-ejaculation. That's a better route.
You think so?
That's a good.
I don't
that's
believe
a good
that at
route
all.
to try. I'm not gonna say
This is the
better.
first time in the whole night that we disagree. I think that people make dumb decisions when they're horny and when their hormones are that way. But whenever you get rid of that thought and that feeling and you get your needs met, you can think clear. Specifically when it comes to women. If you're a guy fighting with a woman or whatever, not even fighting, maybe it's just a conversation about if you're going to move in together or a house.
Yeah.
You're not thinking clearly. You're thinking about getting laid and you're thinking about all these sexual things that are in your body. And when you get rid of those, you can now make a decision based off the other facts.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
I don't know. I always feel like kind of like duller though, like
Duller?
depleted.
Damn.
Dull. Like I just lost my charisma or something. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Well,
Like,
we got two different advices, man. Maybe don't. I think
masturbate.
I think you should do it.
Do not.
I think you should.
I'm totally against
I'm
masturbation.
all about that.
At this point in my life.
Yeah.
Not always, but
Well, I think we
now.
officially have our topic for our next conversation, man.
okay.
Those are
Start it
advices.
off.
Anything else you'd give advice for that girl? No?
No, that was good advice.
I think we both gave her good
learned
advice,
a
man.
little
I
bit,
think
too.
she'll be fine.
I'm gonna try to practice.
Hey, brother.
that.
Well, I've had like the best podcast with you, man. I appreciate you sticking around for it, and I look forward to
yeah.
the next one, man.
It's been awesome.
All
Thanks,
right.
Will.
Peace out, everybody.